So, Love Island USA Season 8 just dropped its premiere, and I need to talk about it immediately, because one couple had me fully convinced they were soulmates within the first 20 minutes. One man made the single worst strategic decision I have ever witnessed on this show, and by the end of the episode, there is a betrayal so cold that I actually gasped out loud on my couch. And I don't gasp, I'm not a gasper. But what happens behind those doors at the end of this episode? I'm still processing it. And wait until you hear what the Bombshells do the second they walk in, because it is absolutely unhinged. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start from the top, because trust me, even the introductions are giving drama. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, smash that subscribe button if you love messy drama breakdowns. Hit the like button and that new hype button because it genuinely helps us grow and reach more tea lovers like you. Trust me, you are going to want to be subscribed for this season because I can already tell it's about to be a whole mess. Let's get into it. First through the door, we've got Anaya and Kenzie. And these two are immediately iconic together. Anaya is 23, a Virgo from Tyrone, Georgia, works as a marketing director for her family's nonprofit with her mom, and describes the job as her mom being her boss who threatens her pay on the regular. She says she's been single for 6 months, except when she counts it out on her fingers, she lands on 8 months, which is not 6. But math is clearly not her love language, and honestly, who among us hasn't fumbled a basic count on national television? Nobody? Just Anaya? Moving on. Now Kenzie is 24, a Sagittarius from Kennesaw, Georgia, and she literally graduated nursing school the day before flying to Fiji. The day before. So she went from cap and gown to bikini in approximately 12 hours, and I respect the efficiency. Kenzie was also a competitive dancer, and apparently does her splits every single morning because it gets rid of stress. I do coffee, but sure, full splits at sunrise works too. Kenzie also shares that she was in love once and completely lost herself in the relationship. She says she's basically re-virginized because it's been a year and a half. Her exact energy was, I just want to get my hands on a man. And listen, that enthusiasm is going to either be her superpower or her downfall this season. I'll let you guess which one based on what happens later. Oh, and both girls are from Georgia. Anaya from Tyrone and Kenzie from Kennesaw. The Georgia representation is strong this episode. Drop in the comments if you're from Georgia because your girls showed up this season. Then Melanie walks in, and immediately the energy shifts. She's 24, Dominican, originally from Philly but living in LA. And she comes in hot with one of my favorite takes of the night. She says she doesn't use the term girl's girl because no real girl's girl actually says that. And you know what? She ate that up. That's a genuinely sharp observation. If you have to announce it, it probably isn't true. Melanie also admits upfront that she is terrible at picking guys. She's played wife, done all the right things, and it's never worked. She wants to get married and have a whole team of kids, and she's self-aware enough to know her track record is concerning. I appreciate the honesty because most people on these shows act like they've never made a bad decision in their lives. These three, Anaya, Kenzie, and Melanie, make a pact right away to call each other out if any of them start acting delusional, which is either the most supportive thing or a ticking time bomb. Could go either way. But save your shock for what's coming next, because these bonds get tested faster than you'd think. Next up, we get Beatriz and Trinity, and I need to talk about both of these women because they are characters in the best possible way. Beatriz is 25 from San Diego, and she is a 2-time Paralympian and bronze medalist in the long jump. She was born with a rare birth defect called fibular hemimelia and was amputated at 10 months old. Doctors thought she might never walk, and now she runs for Team USA. That alone is incredible, but what makes Beatriz a standout is her personality. She has zero fear when it comes to approaching guys. She says she'll walk up to a man and go, "You, me, Monday night, give me your phone number." And she has this sense of humor about her disability that is genuinely hilarious. She shared a story about being at a haunted house where a guy with a chainsaw said he'd cut her to pieces, and she hit him with, "Too late, I'm already in pieces." I mean, come on, that's elite comedy. Also, she loves a mouth mullet, which is a sentence I did not think I would be saying today. But here we are. Beatriz is going to be a fan favorite this season. I'm calling it right now. Trinity is 22 years old, the youngest of the cast, and she does not mince words. She says she doesn't like ugly. Just straight up, nothing ugly around her. She wants a tall guy with tattoos who calls the shots, and she describes her ideal man as a golden retriever type. She also quit her job at a hardware store to come on the show, and she admits she was a personality hire because people would ask her about plumbing and she'd be like, I don't know anything about plumbing. Which, fair. At least she's honest about her skill set. The twist coming up with Trinity? I had to rewind it, but we'll get there. Time for the guys, and first up, we get Sincere and Bryce walking in together. And these two could not be more different if they tried. Sincere is 25 from Cape May, New Jersey, and he coaches track and field. He's immediately charming in that slightly corny but endearing way. He says he signs his emails sincerely sincere, which is the kind of thing that should be cringe, but somehow he pulls it off. He shares that he was raised by his grandmom and his mom, two amazing women who taught him how to treat people right. Keep Sincere on your radar because the connection he makes in this episode is one of the strongest opening night connections I have ever seen on this show, but I'll get to that. Then there's Bryce. Born in Hawaii, grew up in Vegas, moved to New York at 17 for modeling, now lives in LA. He did work for Calvin Klein, he's a DJ, he's a model, and I know exactly what you're thinking because the girls were thinking it too. Total LA fudge boy vibes. But Bryce says girls always assume that about him, and he's actually really sensitive and emotional. Kenzie immediately calls him a simp, then adds that's not a bad thing, and honestly, her delivery was perfect. But here's the thing about Bryce that I respect. He openly shares that modeling is unstable, so he also does handyman work and fixes garbage trucks. He seems almost insecure about it, but Trinity later tells him she loves a blue-collar man and doesn't care about the glamorous stuff. And I actually found that moment really genuine. Life is expensive. The man fixes garbage trucks. There's honor in that. Kenzie seems immediately attracted to Bryce at first glance, but what happens when they actually kiss? Oh, we need to talk about that. But not yet. Save that reaction for later because it's one of the funniest moments of the episode. Then Zach walks in, and the energy is immediately chaotic. He's 26, from Birmingham, England, and yes, he is Charlie's younger brother. Charlie was on Love Island before, so Zach has a built-in rivalry already. When Ariana asks if he thinks he'll do better than his brother, he says, well, I'm here from the start. He wasn't, so we'll see. Confident. I like it. Zach was in a 4-year relationship that just faded. He's been single for 3 years, and he says he's never had his heart broken, which is exactly what a heartbreaker would say, and Ariana literally calls that out. He loves One Direction unironically. He's a cat person, and his girlfriend must love his cat or she is out the door. No exceptions. Remember the cat thing. It becomes very relevant very soon. He also says he likes a girl who takes charge. He wants someone to push him around a little bit. Let me know in the comments though, do you think being Charlie's brother helps or hurts him? Because I have thoughts, but what happens later with Zach and his couple is something I genuinely did not see coming. Last two guys in are Sean and Casey, and Sean immediately becomes the most interesting person in this villa. Sean is 29, he's from all over the place. Wyoming, Virginia, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and he is a police officer. 6 years on the force. He says he loves his job and feels like he makes a difference. Someone apparently nicknamed him Officer Sexy Pants, which became a hit at his precinct. And honestly, I see why. But here's where Sean separates himself from the pack. He was in a 10-year relationship. That broke up. He went on what he describes as a monster dating app streak, during which he had a baby that was not planned. And he leads with this information immediately. He introduces himself and says right away that he's a single dad. No hiding it, no waiting for the right moment. Just straight up honesty from minute one. Now, compare that to past contestants we've seen on other seasons who hide major life details. Sean said, nope, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I respect that move immensely. But the question is, how will the girls react to the kid situation? Because that answer comes later, and it's more complicated than you'd think. Then we've got KC. He's 23, from Fresno, California, works as a nursing assistant at an elderly home, and claims he has never left a woman unsatisfied. Bold claim, KC. Bold claim. He says he likes being the chaser, and he values his freedom, but would give it up for the right person. He seems sweet enough, but the decision he makes during the matching game? Catastrophic. Absolutely catastrophic. We'll get there.
Love Island did their big one with this season. Like when I tell y'all, the cast actually feels authentic and everybody has like a real job outside of this, and I love it. Like there's no influencers, there's no none of that. I love the energy that they're giving off so far. And then on top of that, like all of the girls are likable. Even Kenzie, I'm not even gonna lie, because I was scared for her at first. But Kenzie, Melanie, I think that's her name, Beatrice, Trinity, Anaya, I like all of them. Like I with all of them. Trinity is very funny. Like when she said, Sincere, I think he was the one that said, "Oh, I hope everybody works out here," and she was like, "Oh no, I don't work out." Like she was just quick with that. I like how raw and authentic she is. I like how Anaya, she's very bubbly. All the guys are really cool too. Like everybody seems like they're there for the actual like right reasons. Everybody seems like they actually want to find love, except for Casey a little bit. But like I feel like they all just like got a purpose, and it's actually like refreshing to see. Like last season it was just too much. This season actually feels refreshing, but it is the first day still, so I'm not gonna say too much yet, just because I don't want to jinx it yet. But like everybody seems like they're coming in on a positive note, and I fuck with that. Like I love just how it's going so far. This is a good episode. I'm not done yet. I'm gonna finish soon, but I'm gonna come back to y'all.
All right, so Ariana brings everyone together for the matching door game. And this is where things get spicy. The concept is simple. She asks questions, everyone steps behind a door based on their answer, and if you match with someone on the other side, you share a kiss. These are the first kisses of Love Island USA Season 8, and they do not disappoint. Question 1. Favorite sex position? Missionary, doggy, or cowgirl? Missionary gets Sincere, Casey, and Anaya. Sincere gives Anaya an 8 out of 10 on the kiss, which is a strong opening score, but also, who gives a rating out loud? Sincere. Sincere does. Doggy gets Bryce, Sean, Trinity, and Beatriz. And this is where Sean and Beatriz's connection ignites. Beatriz says Sean is a good kisser, and they go a little extra on their turn. Not just a peck, they went in. And Beatriz later explains her preference by saying she likes being manhandled, hair pulled, pushed into the bed, and Sean's response is basically, same page. These two had chemistry from the first second, and it only gets more intense from here. But the bombshell coming later makes this look tame. Trust me on that. Cowgirl gets Melanie, Kenzie, and Zach. And Zach gets a bit handsy with Kenzie during their kiss, which Kenzie seems into, for now. Question 2. Dog person, cat person, or plants? Now, let me set the scene. You know Zach went straight to the cat door. That's his brand. He needs a cat girl or nothing. Dog person gets Sincere, Sean, Melanie, Beatriz, Kenzie, and Anaya. Basically the whole villa minus 3 people. And Sean goes aggressive. He grabs Melanie and uses what the girls describe as his cop skills. He pins her against the wall and the girls are screaming. Someone said he should have brought the handcuffs, and honestly, valid point. Cat person gets Trinity, Bryce, and Zach. And Trinity immediately says she and Zach are not compatible. Just flat out, no chemistry. Which is interesting because it means Bryce and Zach are sharing the cat corner, and Trinity is stuck with both of them. And then there's KC, who chose plants. This man stood behind the plant door, by himself, with nobody else. He was high-key embarrassed and tried to play it off, but you could see the regret in real time. He thought he was being edgy and different. He was being different, all right. Different and alone, behind a door, with a plant. I need someone to explain to me the thought process of going on a dating show and choosing to identify as a plant person. Like, strategically, that's like showing up to a job interview and listing napping as your greatest strength. Sure, it's honest, but read the room, Casey. And here's what's wild. This decision haunts him through the entire coupling. But the way it plays out, you're going to want to hear what happens. Question 3. Is it okay to check your partner's phone? Never, sometimes, or always. Never gets Sean, Anaya, and Beatriz. And this is Sean and Beatriz's 3rd kiss at this point. Their rhythm is undeniable. Sean describes her lips as soft, says they found a flow, and everything about it was natural. These two are locked in. Sometimes gets Casey, Melanie, Zach, Bryce, Trinity, and Kenzie. And this is where Kenzie's Bryce crush takes a devastating turn. She went into this super attracted to him. But the kiss? She described his tongue as a turtle tongue. Her words, a turtle tongue. She said it turned her completely off. I rewound that 3 times because the face she made was sending me. Poor Bryce. The man went from Calvin Klein model to turtle tongue in 1 kiss. Also, Melanie matches with Casey and says he's the type she usually goes for, which worries her because her type historically leads to heartbreak. Remember this because it's foreshadowing. Always gets just Sincere, alone, behind the always door. Which looks crazy on the surface, but he later explains to Melanie that he didn't mean it in a controlling way. He just thinks partners should always have access to each other's phones. Melanie actually accepts this, which tells you how much she likes him already. Final question. Are you ready for the summer of a lifetime? Everyone picks hell yeah. And this one is basically a kiss free-for-all. Everyone matches, everyone kisses everyone. Kenzie says she's never kissed that many people in one night. And she's kissed many people on nights. Her words, not mine. All right, coupling time. Girls get first pick. They stand behind the door of the guy they want, and the doors reveal who chose who. Let's break down every single couple because there is drama in these choices. Bryce's door. Trinity steps up. Trinity chooses Bryce based on compatibility from the game, saying they had almost every answer the same. Plus, she thought he was attractive from the jump. Bryce is thrilled. They kissed during their first conversation, which is a fast move even for Love Island. But I need to point something out. Bryce is born in '96. Trinity is 2003. That's a 7-year age gap, and Trinity brings it up later as a concern. At 22 and 29, that's not massive, but she mentions it makes her think. Keep that in your back pocket. Also, Bryce kind of gives me the energy of a certain past contestant we all know. And are we looking at a potential repeat situation? Time will tell. But what happens with these two at the end of the episode? Sean's door. Beatriz, obviously. This was the most predictable coupling of the night, and I mean that in the best way. Beatriz walks behind Sean's door, and nobody is surprised. Their chemistry was off the charts from the matching game. 3 kisses, all fire. Sean describes her as drop-dead gorgeous and a crazy athlete. Beatriz says the kisses were amazing, and she wants to explore the connection. But, when they sit down for their one-on-one conversation, 2 things come up. First, Sean loves country music. And Beatriz? Beatriz says she would rather acquire another disability and go deaf than listen to country music. She said she'd rather lose her ability to hear, while sitting next to a man who is adamant about converting her to country. Sean literally tells her it's going to grow on her, and she is not having it. Could country music be the thing that ends this couple? Probably not, but the scene was hilarious. And second, Beatriz admits that Sean having a kid is a red flag for her. She said she's going to be open-minded, but she's not locked in on that front. So, even the strongest connection in the villa has cracks already. Let me know in the comments, is a kid a deal breaker for you, or is that something you can work with? Casey's door. Empty. Nobody. 0 humans. I feel bad for Casey. I genuinely do. He stands there, opens the door, and it's just nothing. Empty. The plant curse continues. He tries to laugh it off, but you can see it stings. He gets sent to the fire pit to wait, and the look on his face is the look of a man who deeply regrets not picking dogs. Sincere's door. 2 women. Anaya and Melanie. Both Anaya and Melanie choose Sincere. Melanie says something about him felt familiar, like she'd known him before. Anaya liked his personality and confidence. Sincere picks Melanie, citing her kind eyes and soft smile. And Anaya gets sent to the fire pit with KC. So now we have 2 singles waiting to be matched. Zach's door. Kenzie steps up. Kenzie chooses Zach, saying she loves his accent and dark features. Zach admits he was nervous, but says it's nice knowing she was behind his door. They're coupled up, which means KC and Anaya, the 2 leftovers, are automatically matched by default. And here's the thing, Casey says he was hoping Anaya would be behind his door anyway, so they're both actually happy about it. Sometimes the backup plan works out, sometimes. Final couples. Trinity and Bryce, Kenzie and Zach, Sean and Beatriz, Casey and Anaya, Sincere and Melanie. Now these couples are sharing a bed together on night 1. And 6 weeks from now, America votes for their favorite couple to win $100,000. But what happens between now and then? Oh, the twist at the end of this episode changes everything. The first night one-on-ones are where you really start to see who's compatible and who's performing. And this episode gave us a full spectrum. Casey and Anaya sit down, and Casey tries to recover from the embarrassment of the empty door. Anaya shares that her dad played in the NBA for the Denver Nuggets, Orlando Magic, and Phoenix Suns, and she works with her family's nonprofit. Casey says she has a good head on her shoulders and that he's happy with how things turned out. Anaya seems genuinely attracted to Casey. The chemistry is building naturally, which is refreshing. Sincere and Melanie are the couple I cannot stop watching. These 2 click on a level that feels almost suspicious. They're both from the East Coast. Sincere's dad is from Philly, and they're both Eagles fans. Their humor matches, their energy matches, and Melanie literally says he makes her giddy like a schoolgirl crush. Sincere says he feels like he made the right choice, and Melanie's smile says everything. If you're as invested in this couple as I am, let me know in the comments, because I need to know I'm not alone in being emotionally attached already. It's episode 1, and I'm ready to fight for them. Kenzie and Zach have an interesting conversation. Zach used to be a rehab assistant and worked alongside nurses for 2 years, which gives them something in common with Kenzie being a nurse. Kenzie calls him a Greek god. But then Zach drops a bomb that should concern Kenzie fans. He says he's never been with a blonde girl before. His type is dark features, long black hair, the complete opposite of Kenzie. Kenzie catches this and starts putting her guard up, which is smart. She can't read whether he's into her or not. And then in the boys' chat, Zach confirms it. He says the chemistry isn't there yet with Kenzie, and he's not going to cuddle up because he doesn't want to give mixed signals, which is actually respectful, honestly. But it means Kenzie is in a one-sided situation and she's starting to feel it. Trinity and Bryce have a sweet conversation where Bryce opens up about the garbage truck work, and Trinity reassures him that she loves a real man who gets his hands dirty. She thinks he looks like Prince Charming, and they kiss during their first conversation. But Trinity privately expresses concern about the age gap. 7 years. It's not huge, but at 22, it feels bigger. Sean and Beatriz continue to be the power couple of the episode. Their only tension points are the kid situation and the country music war. Sean is absolutely determined to convert Beatriz into a country fan, and she is absolutely determined to never let that happen. Beatriz says Sean having a kid is a red flag, but she's going to stay open-minded. This couple has the most raw chemistry, but also the most real-life obstacles, which makes them fascinating to watch. Quick sidebar. The Islander commercials between segments are actually worth talking about. We get to see some familiar faces. Bella, Grayson, Coco from past seasons getting some love. And Olandria is absolutely serving in her commercial. I love seeing past Islanders getting their bag. Hannah also appears in a commercial, which was clearly filmed before Beyond the Villa drama, so the timeline is interesting there. I live for the meta details. What can I say? Breakfast time, and the boys are cooking. Immediately, the couple dynamics become clearer. Zach is still not feeling it with Kenzie. He pulls Bryce aside and admits she's definitely not his normal type. Meanwhile, Bryce shares that he thinks Trinity is worried about the age gap more than she's letting on. And Beatriz tells the girls she's still not comfortable with Sean's kid situation. But Sincere and Melanie, still perfect. Melanie brings up the phone checking thing where Sincere picked always, and he explains himself, and she accepts it completely. They have another makeout session. I said it before, and I'll say it again. These two seem like the show is already over for them. I can genuinely see them outside the villa doing brand deals and starting a family. Am I getting ahead of myself? Absolutely. Do I care? Not even a little. Casey and Anaya have a cute breakfast chat where Casey makes her avocado toast and they get deeper. Casey asks about chivalry and Anaya gives him a whole list. Holding doors, holding hands, walking on the right side of the sidewalk, and Casey rises to the occasion. His confidence is growing and he says the worry he had about it being a forced connection is completely gone. Okay, here we go. This is what I was building to this entire video. Ariana drops back in and announces the doors are back. But this time, the choice is whether to stay coupled up or switch. Green dot means stay. Red dot means switch. And this decision, this changes the entire game. Let me walk you through each couple because the results are absolutely wild. Beatriz and Sean. Beatriz decides to change. Sean decides to stay. They split. The strongest connection in the villa. 3 kisses deep, and Beatriz walks away. The kid thing clearly got to her more than she let on. Sean looks blindsided. He did not see that coming. Kenzie and Zach. Kenzie decides to stay. Zach decides to change. They split. Kenzie put herself out there and Zach wasn't feeling it. This one hurts, but honestly, we saw it coming. He told us she wasn't his type. At least he didn't string her along. Trinity and Bryce. They both decide to change. Mutual agreement that it's not quite there. Interesting that both of them felt the same way, despite the Prince Charming comments and the first night kiss. Anaya and KC. They both decide to stay. The default couple, the ones nobody initially picked each other for, are the ones who actually want to keep going. Sometimes the universe knows what it's doing. Melanie and Sincere. They both decide to stay, obviously. These two were never splitting. They looked at each other through those doors like, was that even a question? But here's where it gets absolutely unhinged. And I told you to wait for this. Ariana announces that 2 bombshells are entering the villa, and they are only available to the people who stood on the red dots. So Sean, Kenzie, Bryce, Zach, Trinity, and Beatriz are all in play. Enter Kayda and Gabriel. Gabriel is from Brazil, self-proclaimed bad boy. Now here's some interesting context. Gabriel was originally introduced as an original cast member, but it seems like, with some behind-the-scenes changes, he got converted into a Bombshell entrance instead. Make of that what you will. Kayda is 22 from New Hampshire, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. She flat out says she's a player, and she's going to step on toes. Not might, going to. That's a promise, not a warning. And then the doors are still closed. The original couples can hear what's happening behind those doors, but can't see it. Gabriel walks up and kisses Beatriz. Sean, on the other side, can hear the smacking. Hear it. The man is sitting there, listening to the girl he was just coupled with, kissing another man through a door. Then Kayda goes to work. She kisses Zach and things get spicy. Kenzie, on the other side, can hear everything. The smacking sounds through the wall. On the first night, after her partner already said she wasn't his type, and now she has to listen to him kiss someone new. The episode ends with Kayda taking Bryce and Zach with her, and Gabriel taking Trinity and Beatriz with him. The doors haven't even opened yet. The original partners haven't even seen who the Bombshells are. Sean is just sitting there like a man who got a parking ticket while saving a kitten from a tree. Did nothing wrong and still took an L. If you're not screaming at your screen right now, you have more emotional regulation than I do. Tell me in the comments who you think got the worst deal, because I have opinions.
So we pick up right where episode 1 ended. The Bombshells have taken their islanders, and now it's time to reveal who stayed and who switched. Ariana brings everyone to the doors, and this is where the emotional damage begins. Sincere and Melanie both stayed, obviously. These two looked at each other through the doors like the question was insulting. Melanie admits she was actually a little nervous, which is adorable, because Sincere was never going anywhere. This man was tunnel-visioned from the second he picked her. No surprise here, but still satisfying to watch. The voting numbers apparently confirm what we already know. This couple is going strong. Protect them at all costs.
Casey and Anaya both stayed. These two are cute. The man who opened his door to absolutely nobody in episode 1, and now both of them chose green without hesitation. Casey even references the door trauma, saying he's never going to look at doors the same way again. Anaya says Casey makes her feel heard and seen, and Casey's genuine reaction when she appeared behind his door was one of the most real moments of the episode. These two are growing on me fast, but something Anaya reveals later worried me. Trinity and Bryce both switched. Not surprising, since they both stood on red in episode 1. They left with their respective bombshells, and the door was, as Ariana put it, officially closed. At least they were on the same page about it. More on what happens with them in a minute. Kenzie and Zach. Kenzie stayed. Zach switched. This one stings. Kenzie put herself out there, chose green, and Zach was already gone. She takes it on the chin though. She says she liked him, but immediately follows it up with, "There'll be someone better, period." And I believe her, but the pain was real in that moment. Sean and Beatriz. Sean stayed. Beatriz switched. And this is where it gets rough. Sean opens his door and nobody is there. The man who came in honest about his kid, who showed the strongest chemistry in the villa, who stood on green because he genuinely believed in what they were building, gets hit with an empty doorway. He says it was honestly surprising because everything seemed to be going well, and you can hear in his voice that this one cut deep. Kenzie and Sean are now both single and left in the villa, while their former partners are off at Paradise Cove with the Bombshells for 24 hours, the same amount of time those Bombshells have had to get to know them. Ariana makes sure to point that out, and the math is not lost on anyone. Drop in the comments, did Beatriz make the right call, or did she throw away the best connection in the villa? Because I have a very strong opinion on this. The aftermath scenes are honestly some of the best television this episode. Sean and Kenzie are stuck in the villa while their exes are off making out with Bombshells on a private island, and the emotional contrast is brutal. Sean breaks it down perfectly. He says when he stood on green for Beatriz, it was a no-brainer because in the first coupling, she chose him, and now he got to choose her back. He thought they were building something real. And then he says what I think a lot of us were feeling. He says he felt like everything he was told was genuine, but now it feels like he was fed garbage. That's not bitterness talking. That's a man who trusted someone and got blindsided. But here's what I respect about Sean. He doesn't spiral. He doesn't sit in the corner and mope. He says his feelings don't have to dictate his actions. He's going to move forward, find new connections, and see where things go. That's emotional maturity from a man who just got his heart stepped on. Officer Sexy Pants is handling this with more composure than I would have. I would have been filing an emotional restraining order. Kenzie, on the other hand, gets emotional, and I don't blame her one bit.
Melanie and Anaya console her, and they are real ones for that. Kenzie reveals that Zach actually told her she wasn't his type. He said his type was dark hair, dark eyes, and he's never dated a blonde. But I noticed something interesting during Kenzie's emotional moment. Melanie had a bit of a guilty look, and I'm wondering if she encouraged Kenzie to give Zach more of a chance, which obviously turned out to be terrible advice. We'll keep an eye on that. But save your sympathy for what happens when they all come back to the villa, because it gets so much messier. While Sean and Kenzie are processing their heartbreak, the Bombshells are living it up at Paradise Cove with their stolen islanders. And the dynamics here are fascinating, because the 2-to-1 ratio creates instant awkwardness. Gabriel, Beatriz, and Trinity. Gabriel is from Brazil, lives in Miami, and is a model and DJ. He says he shows a lot of affection, and that is putting it mildly, because this man cannot go more than 3 minutes without initiating a makeout session. He kisses Beatriz right in front of Trinity during one of their first conversations, which is bold even by Love Island standards. And here's my honest assessment of Gabriel. I don't fully trust him yet. He seems way more interested in the physical connection than actually getting to know these women. Every conversation seems to steer toward kissing rather than substance. For Gabriel, the physical seems to come first and the emotional is an afterthought. But I will say, Beatriz matches that energy. She admits she's majorly attracted to him, but worries he might be a big flirt. Now, Beatriz has this moment where she says she knows she's about to look like a bad person when they go back to the villa, and at least she's self-aware about it. She acknowledges that she didn't get to explain herself to Sean before being whisked away, which is fair. But she also doesn't seem too torn up about it, which tells me the kid situation was a bigger deal than she let on in episode 1. Trinity has a solo conversation with Gabriel and asks if he's ready for a family, and I have never seen a man's face drain of color so fast. Gabriel basically says he just wants to have fun, and Trinity is clearly looking for something more serious. I think this is the moment Gabriel mentally crossed Trinity off his list. She's looking for a husband. He's looking for a hot summer. Those timelines do not align.
Kayda, Zach, and Bryce. Now Kayda. I think I'm going to like this girl. She's a server from New Hampshire, her dad is Haitian, and her mom is German. Both Zach and Bryce agree she should be modeling, and Zach describes her as a beautiful Amazonian. He literally said he saw Wonder Woman walk in. So yeah, he's interested. The 7 minutes alone format gives each guy individual time with Kayda, and the difference in chemistry is immediately obvious. Kayda and Zach connect on a level that feels natural. She's confident, she knows what she wants, and Zach is drawn to that energy. He says her confidence is scary, but in a good way. They talk about family, traveling, and Zach's Greek background. The vibe is easy and comfortable. And then there's the bedtime situation. This is the moment I warned you about. They're all sharing one massive bed. Kayda sneaks over and starts kissing Zach goodnight. Bryce, lying right there, hears this happening and tries to join in. And Kayda blocks him, curves him, shuts it down, right there in the bed, with Zach inches away. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about where Kayda's head is at, I don't know what will. Bryce just got rejected from a kiss while lying in the same bed as the girl. That's a level of secondhand embarrassment that should come with a warning label. In the morning, Zach and Bryce have a mature conversation about it. Zach admits there was no romantic vibe with Kenzie. Bryce acknowledges that Zach and Kayda clearly have a stronger connection and says he'll back off. Respect to Bryce for reading the room, but at this point, the man has been curved by Kayda in bed and friend-zoned by the situation. His Love Island experience is becoming a masterclass in taking L's gracefully. The cornhole scene with Bryce and Kayda later confirms everything. Bryce asks Kayda her type, and she says dark features, dark everything, tattoos. Basically, the exact opposite of Bryce. She literally described Zach. Bryce wins the cornhole bet and gets a kiss. But it's the kind of kiss that feels more like a consolation prize than a connection. I like Bryce as a person, but I think the girls can sense something about him that's holding them back. He seems slightly insecure for his age, and in a villa full of confident personalities, that energy reads differently than he probably intends. Meanwhile, at the villa, Sincere and Melanie have a conversation that is both beautiful and slightly concerning, and I need to talk about both parts. The beautiful part. Melanie grills Sincere about the new Bombshell. Did he look at her? Was she attractive? And Sincere handles it perfectly. He says he was in tunnel vision mode, just hoping Melanie was behind his door. He says he didn't even remember what the Bombshell looked like. Now,
Do I believe that? Probably not entirely, but it's exactly the right thing to say, and more importantly, his energy backs it up. When Sincere talks about Melanie, his face literally lights up. Even when she's not around, just mentioning her name makes him smile. That's not performed, that's real. The concerning part, Melanie admits she has trust issues. She says she can feel herself getting close to Sincere, but she's been burned before and she's protective. And look, I understand that. Trust issues are real and valid. But here's what worries me. The producers heard that. They always hear that. And every single season, when someone says they have trust issues, the show engineers a situation designed to test exactly that. It's the classic Love Island formula. So I'm calling it right now. At some point this season, they're going to throw a wrench at Sincere and Melanie specifically designed to trigger Melanie's trust issues. A Bombshell who targets Sincere, a Casa Amor type situation, something. And the question is whether their connection is strong enough to survive it. I think it is. I genuinely think these two are this season's iconic couple. But the producers are coming for them, and I need everyone to be mentally prepared. Casey and Anaya continue to surprise me. Casey made her avocado toast again, brings her the eggs exactly how she likes them, and their conversation is getting deeper. Anaya says Casey is super genuine and that he makes her feel special because he actually listens and incorporates what she tells him into his actions. That's attentive behavior, and it's working. Casey says his connection with Anaya has grown every day, and he was just as nervous as her at the door reveal. The man who got humiliated by the plant door and opened his coupling door to nobody is now in the most stable couple after Sincere and Melanie. That is a redemption arc. But there's always a but, and this one is a big but. We'll get to it.
Okay, here it is. The moment that has me worried. And I don't think people are paying enough attention to this. Sean, being the strategic thinker he is, decides to have a conversation with Anaya and Melanie to figure out his options. He asks them which girls in the villa might be open to new connections. He reveals that Trinity was one of his initial interests when he first walked in. Fair enough. And then Anaya drops a bombshell that is bigger than both actual bombshells combined. She reveals that Sean was her top 2, meaning when she was deciding who to couple up with, it was Sincere first and Sean second. Casey wasn't even in her top 2 picks. Let that marinate for a second. The man Anaya is currently coupled with and seemingly happy with was not even her second choice. He was third at best. And she just casually revealed this in conversation. Now, on its own, this might not mean much. People's feelings change. Casey has clearly won her over through his actions and consistency. But the problem is that Sean is now single, and the producers just heard this entire conversation. If you don't think the show is going to create a situation where Sean and Anaya are forced into proximity while Casey watches from a distance, you haven't been watching Love Island long enough. They live for this. I was confident in Casey and Anaya after the door reveal, but this changes things. Casey seems all in on Anaya, but does Anaya have wandering eyes? And does Sean, who is now open to all options, pursue it? I need answers, and I need them immediately. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Anaya's top 2 reveal is going to cause problems, or am I overthinking this? One of my favorite scenes in the episode is Sean and Kenzie bonding over their shared rejection. There's something genuinely sweet about 2 people who got burned finding comfort in each other, even if it's not romantic. Sean tells Kenzie about his 9-year high school sweetheart relationship that naturally faded, and Kenzie shares that she's had 3 boyfriends who were all completely different. She says she falls in love through words and being pursued. She wants to feel like a gazelle being chased by a lion, and she only wants that lion chasing her and nobody else. Which is honestly a great analogy for what went wrong with Zach, since he was clearly chasing a different gazelle the entire time. Sean made her heart-shaped eggs that morning, and Kenzie was glowing about it. She thanked him with a smile that felt like more than just gratitude, and I couldn't tell if she was genuinely shooting her shot or just appreciating the kindness. Either way, these 2 have a bond now. The rejected club is small but mighty. But I don't think Kenzie and Sean are endgame. I think they're each other's support system until better options arrive. And new islanders are always coming. The bombshells come back to the villa, and the energy is tense. Gabriel walks in holding hands with Trinity and Beatrice. Kayda walks in with Bryce and Zach, and the reactions from the villa are priceless. Sean gives Beatrice what I can only describe as a death stare. Not aggressive, not dramatic, just cold. The stare of a man who trusted you, and you chose wrong. Kenzie gives Zach the "I'm trying to look like I don't care" face, which is the universal signal that she absolutely cares. Gabriel chooses first. He has to lock in his answer with a kiss. He picks Beatrice. Sean watches this happen in real time. The twist of the knife.
Whatever small hope he had of rekindling things with Beatrice evaporates in front of the entire villa. And then, to make it worse, Gabriel and Beatrice sit down right next to Sean. This man just had his girl taken by a Brazilian model who then planted himself in the adjacent seat. Sean daps Gabriel up because what else can you do? But you can see the tension radiating off him. I know deep down Sean wants to arrest Gabriel and book him for emotional grand theft. Charge him with first-degree heartbreak. Throw the whole book at him. But honestly, I think Beatrice and Gabriel might actually be a decent match. Not because they're deeply compatible, but because they both seem to prioritize the physical connection above all else. They're on the same wavelength in that regard. Whether that can sustain a real relationship is a different question entirely, but for now, they make sense. Kayda chooses next. She picks Zach. Absolutely zero surprise. After the bed-blocking incident, the morning chemistry, the cornhole flirting, this was written on the wall in permanent marker. Bryce knew it, Zach knew it, Kayda knew it. The fish and chip shop in Birmingham probably knew it. I will say this about Kayda and Zach though. Even though they didn't choose each other initially, there's something that feels natural about their pairing. Kayda is confident and dominant. Zach said he wants a girl who takes charge, and she literally takes charge of everything, including who gets kissed goodnight. I think this match has genuine potential. Kayda might be exactly the type of energy Zach needed, and vice versa. Trinity and Bryce are back together by default since neither Bombshell picked them. And look, at least they're on the same page about it. Neither of them seems devastated. It's more of a, well, here we are again vibe. They know their placeholders until someone better walks through that door. And then comes the most brutal moment of the episode. Kenzie and Sean are called to stand in front of the fire pit. And who has to deliver the news? Beatrice and Zach, the people who dumped them. Having to stand there and hear, you are now single and vulnerable, from the exact person who made you single and vulnerable, is cruel television at its finest. Sean stands there stoically because the man is a rock. Kenzie stands there because she has no other choice. Beatrice and Zach say the words, and I'm sitting on my couch thinking about how the producers specifically chose to have the exes deliver the message. That's not an accident. That's designed to maximize awkwardness, and they succeeded spectacularly. Someone in the villa literally said, "Don't be so messy," and I couldn't agree more. This was messy as all get out. But that's what we're here for, right? Tell me I'm not the only one who found that fire pit scene physically uncomfortable to watch. We pick up right where the last episode left us, with Gabe and Kayda walking into the villa as fresh meat, and the existing cast trying to play it cool while simultaneously calculating their odds of survival. And let me tell you, the math is not mathing for some of these people. The boys immediately circle up around Sean to console him, because, allegedly, he is supposed to be devastated. And listen, he is processing some feelings, but Sean is doing that thing where he says, "I am good, do not worry about me," while his face is screaming the exact opposite. We have all done it. Some of us are doing it right now in our actual lives. No judgment. Meanwhile, Zach finds out that Kenzie actually picked him in the original recoupling, and now he is sitting with genuine guilt, which is a wild emotion to feel about a girl you barely know. But credit to Zach, he has the decency to feel something. Kenzie, on the other side of the villa, is going through the 5 stages of grief at lightning speed, and has clearly decided to skip directly to denial. She is busy convincing herself she is over Zach. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. We will be circling back to this delusion later, because it gets so much messier. Then, Gabe finds out that Sean was originally coupled up with Beatrice, and you can see the moment of, oh. Gabe goes over to Sean to do the gentleman's apology, and Sean does the very masculine, "Nah, you are good, bro," while internally calculating how much therapy this is going to cost him later. We love a respectful king who still has some processing to do. But here is what is really wild. The girl chat starts forming, and Anaya, the patron saint of Villa intelligence, gets all the tea from Beatrice and Trinity simultaneously. As Anaya so beautifully puts it, the Villa is villing. And honestly, that should be the season slogan. Print it on a hat, sell it on the website. But that is just the appetizer. Save your shock for what comes next, because the moment Gabe makes his first real move, the entire dynamic shifts. Gabe wastes absolutely zero time. He pulls Beatrice away from the girl chat, and the camera lingers on Sean's face, which is doing that thing where it stays neutral while every muscle is betraying him. Sean is uncomfortable. Sean is processing. Sean is fighting for his life over there. Gabe and Beatrice then proceed to switch into Spanish and lock into their Latin vibe. And listen, I am not fluent, but I do not need to be. The chemistry was speaking a universal language. These two are absolutely going to be the physical couple of the season. Mark my words. They are going to be the ones the producers cut to whenever they need to remind us this is a love show and not a daytime therapy session. But here is where it gets interesting. Beatrice suddenly clocks that Sean stood on green for her at the recoupling, meaning he was committed, and she starts feeling actual remorse because she never explained herself to him before getting whisked away by the bombshell process. Better late than never, I guess. The revelation ahead has me genuinely curious because Sean and Beatrice are about to have a conversation that completely reframes how they each understood this entire game. Drop your hot takes below. Do you think Beatrice actually regrets how she handled Sean? Or is this just convenient guilt now that Gabe is in the picture? Because I have my theories and I am not sure I like them. Sean and Beatrice finally sit down for their long overdue conversation. And Sean is trying so hard to be cool that you can see his soul leaving his body. He is doing the masculine equivalent of, I am fine, I am fine, I am fine. But this conversation actually surprised me. Beatrice reveals she thought Sean would also stand on red, because in her mind, red was simply, I am still open to exploring. In Sean's mind, red meant, I am closing this off forever. They genuinely interpreted the same game two completely different ways. Beatrice literally admits she was trying to have her cake and eat it too, which, respect for the honesty, even if the strategy is questionable. And here is what I respect about Sean. He realizes that the entire emotional spiral he has been on was based on a complete misunderstanding of the rules. He frustrated, sure, but he is not holding a grudge. He gets his closure, he moves on. And honestly, this is the kind of emotional intelligence I want to see more of in the villa. Whether something re-sparks between these two later is a whole other question, but for now, the air is clear. But the bombshell coming in the back half of this video makes this look like a kindergarten conversation, so pace yourself. Meanwhile in Soul Ties, Zach and Kayda are doing the absolute most in the best way possible. Kayda is looking at Zach like he hung the moon, and Zach is over there casually revealing that he is a homebody whose ideal weekend is working out, eating, watching a film, and playing PlayStation. He is describing the agenda of a man who is going to be an incredible boyfriend and an even better roommate. And Kayda is just sitting there, finding every single thing he does cute. She is gone. She is in it. She has fully checked into the Zach hotel and is unpacking her suitcase. Zach actually says his journey started now that he is with Kayda. And listen, that is either the most romantic thing I have heard all season or the line that gets edited into a memorial montage in 2 weeks. We will find out. But here's the thing though. As wholesome as this is, I cannot ignore that Kenzie is sitting in the next conversation pretending she is fine while this is unfolding 20 feet away. The juxtaposition is wild. And what is coming next for Kenzie? Absolutely no one had it on their bingo card. I certainly did not. If you have a couple you are already obsessed with this season, let me know in the comments, because I want to see if we agree. Kenzie meets Kayda, and there is a moment where Kayda recognizes Kenzie was originally with Zach. Kenzie does the brave little soldier routine and assures Kayda there are no hard feelings. Sure. The girls also reveal they are geographically challenged and do not know where New Hampshire is, which is a separate crisis we do not have time to unpack right now, but I am noting it. Then Kenzie sits down with Sean to try to get to know him better, and they start talking about dragons. Dragons. Not even joking. This is the romantic spark we have been building toward. Look, I am rooting for Kenzie to find something real, but the chemistry between her and Sean is reading more like a study group than a couple. She really needs a new bombshell to walk through that door for her sake. Zach actually tries to pull Kenzie for a chat to apologize and give her closure, and she shuts him down. She curbs him, and honestly, I think this was a missed opportunity for her. She is going to keep marinating in this resentment until she lets him say his piece, and refusing the conversation is just hurting her more than it is hurting him. But what is wild is what comes next, because Kenzie is about to meet someone in this villa who flips her entire energy on its head, and I genuinely did not see it coming. The bed arrangements this night are doing the absolute most. Gabe and Beatrice get placed right next to Sean's bed. Whoever the producer is, give them a raise, because the chaos engineering at play is genuinely impressive. The couples do not waste a single opportunity to get affectionate, and Sean is just lying there trying to find his happy place. The next morning, Sean is making Kenzie breakfast, which is sweet, but then he casually mentions he wants to get to know Anaya more, and I am screaming. The man is making her breakfast and already plotting his next move. The audacity, the efficiency, the complete lack of timing. Then Sean and Kenzie kiss, and I have to be honest, even Melanie commentates that she feels like she missed an episode. And I agree. Where did this come from? When did this happen? Did Kenzie wake up and choose chaos? Because this kiss was not on any radar I was tracking. But that is barely the start of the morning's mess. Because somewhere across the villa, a certain someone is about to make a choice that puts his entire couple in jeopardy. And I do not think he understands what he is doing yet. So here is where things start going off the rails for me personally, because I was firmly in the Sincere and Melanie fan club just one day ago. And then, Sincere, after telling Melanie that Kayda did not compare to her, decides to go pull Kayda for a chat anyway. And I am officially staging a one-woman intervention. Now look, Kayda is in there talking about how happy she is with Zach, and Sincere is saying he is exploring. Now, Sincere and Kayda do have some things in common. They're both from the East Coast, they both love late-night snacks, and they both have pit bulls. So Sincere seems to definitely show interest in Kayda, but I do not think Kayda is open to reciprocating those feelings. I think she's too locked in with Zach. And then he hits us with this metaphor that I am going to need a moment to recover from. He says, you can go fishing, and just because you like two fishes, you do not have to put one back. You can have two beautiful fish. Sir, this is a coupled-up reality dating show, not a Bass Pro Shop catalog. Why are we talking about catch and release like Melanie is a trout? He starts asking Kayda an unsettling number of questions, including her favorite late-night snack, and I do not like where this is going. He admits Kayda is beautiful. He says he is confident in his couple while simultaneously fishing with two rods. The cognitive dissonance is loud. And Anaya, our resident truth dealer, spills the entire tea to Melanie. Melanie does the thing where she says she is fine while her face screams she is anything but. The cracks, they are showing. They are showing so loud. But that is just the warm-up to what happens in the truth game later. In her conversation with Anaya, Melanie has a moment with the girls that genuinely broke my heart. She reveals that historically, guys are infatuated with her at first, and then get sick of her. So her strategy is to never be pushy, because she is terrified of pushing him away. And then she starts crying. And this is episode 3. Episode 3. We are crying in episode 3. Listen, I have compassion for her, but I'm also worried. Because Love Island is about to throw bombshells, challenges, Casa Amor, and full-scale emotional warfare at this woman. If the cracks are showing this early, what happens when the show actually puts pressure on this couple? The challenges are literally designed to test loyalty, and Melanie is already at her breaking point during a casual conversation. She also reveals she will not die on the hill for Sincere, which sounds tough, but the next 10 minutes of footage suggest she absolutely will. The disconnect between what she says and what she does is doing the most. Do not get me wrong, I want her to find her power, but right now she is fighting two battles. The one with Sincere and the much louder one with her own past. And the past is winning. Tell me in the comments, is Melanie's insecurity going to push Sincere away faster than anything Sincere himself does? Because I have a theory and I am not loving it. Now this. I need you sitting down for this. Gabe pulls Kenzie for a chat. Beatriz watches it happen, and her face is doing aerobics. And what unfolds between Gabe and Kenzie is not on any bingo card I had for this episode. Gabe describes himself as passionate, which is the universal flirt code for, I will absolutely upend your life. Kenzie calls out his flirting, but she is also giggling, getting nervous, and then she asks to see him dance. And then it happens. Kenzie gives Gabe the absolute F me eyes. I am not exaggerating, and he is shooting them right back. The chemistry was loud. The chemistry was unexpected. The chemistry was, dare I say, fully unhinged considering the circumstances. Kenzie later tells Trinity that Gabe made her kitty purr a little, which is a phrase I am going to need a moment to unhear. And then she says she has Sean and Gabe basically neck and neck. Officer Sexy Pants over here is in his villain era. Wait, this could be the second time Gabe steals a girl from Sean. Is Gabe about to pull repeat offenses on this poor man? Sean cannot catch a break in this villa. Someone send him a hug and possibly a one-way ticket out. But here's the thing though. The truth game has not even happened yet, and what gets exposed in the truth game makes this Kenzie-Gabe flirtation feel like small potatoes. The truth game arrives, and the Islanders are about to have their entire personal histories aired out for the entertainment of America. They take turns reading facts about other Islanders, and they have to push the person they think it belongs to into the pool. And then the truth is revealed. Pure chaos. Let us go through the highlights because every single one of these was unhinged. Who forgot a hookup's name mid-S-word? Casey picks Zach. Casey was correct. And Kayda warns Zach that if he ever forgets her name, he is done. I love a woman with clear expectations. Which Islander slept with a 52-year-old? Kayda picks Gabe. Kayda is correct. Gabe says she was hot and he had fun that night. Gabe is built different, and that is all I will say. Which Islander broke up with their partner and slept with someone new on the same day? Sincere picks Bryce. Wrong. It was Sean. Sean, our wholesome cinnamon roll, was apparently the architect of an air mattress moment that even he is embarrassed about. Sean tries to explain himself, and it just gets worse. The good cop is actually the bad cop. The mask is off. Which Islander gave their boyfriend the S word using their mouth while their mom was driving? Bryce picks Kenzie. Wrong. It was Trinity. Her excuse? Daylight savings time. And the mom was driving an SUV apparently. Trinity, ma'am, that is not how the equinox works. But also, this is the messiest revelation of the night, and I am obsessed. Which Islander ghosted a boy who bought her an engagement ring? Beatrice picks Kayda. Wrong. It was Melanie. The ring was from high school, and the reason was that she was waiting for marriage. Sincere notes that the ghosting is a red flag, and Melanie is taking notes on the red flags he is throwing simultaneously. Which Islander had an O word over their best friend's pillow? Trinity picks Casey. Wrong. It was Kayda. We are going to need to start checking these pillows. Which Islander had S word in the same room as their best friend? Zach picks Sincere. Wrong. It was KC. College roommate moment. Anaya seems unbothered, which is the most secure energy in the entire villa. Which Islander dated someone just to get to their friend? Kenzie picks Zach. Wrong. And she clearly just wanted to push him in the pool, which I respect. It was Bryce. He ended up dating the original girl for 2 years though, so the universe rewarded the scheme. And then the one that detonated the entire villa. Which Islander is guilty of texting other people while they were with someone? Anaya picks Sean. Wrong. It was Sincere. And Melanie's face? Oh my God, Melanie's face. She knew. She knew in her soul before the card was even read. Sincere's response? Who has not? Sir, read the room. The cracks are showing. The cracks are now actual canyons. Drop your reactions in the comments because I cannot be the only one who watched Sincere bury his own grave in real time.
After the truth game, everyone jumps in the pool to make out, because apparently emotional revelations are foreplay in this villa. Everyone is going at it. Everyone except Sincere and Melanie. They are giving us a textbook visual representation of relationship trouble. The villa was making out, and they were just standing there, fully clothed in their feelings. Kayda asks Melanie how she feels, and Melanie tries to convince herself that if Sincere cheats, she will cheat back, which is the saddest power move in the history of power moves. Sincere then talks to Casey and complains that Melanie told him to explore, but is mad when he actually does it. Sir, there is a difference between I want to feel secure enough to give you space and please rip my heart out on national television. She was being polite. They finally pull each other for a chat, and Sincere tries to explain that he pulled Kayda just to ask about Zach. Make it make sense. Then Melanie tells him he can explore without her permission, and Sincere reassures her she is the one. But Melanie is starting to doubt every word. She literally asks him, "Are we the strongest connection though?" And he has no good answer. The conversation ends awkwardly. It ends poorly. It ends in a way that tells me the next episode is going to be rough. And tomorrow, we are getting new bombshells and a challenge. So buckle in, because the dominoes have officially started falling. We pick up with Sincere getting consoled by Bryce and Sean after that devastating conversation with Melanie. And let me just say, Sincere out here acting like he didn't fudge around and find out is the comedy of the century. This man thought he could be sneaky with zero repercussions, which is wild because that's not how any of this works. And it's especially not how it works on a show with 30 cameras pointed at his face at all times. Meanwhile, Melanie, and I say this with love, needs to find her spine and apply it directly to her spinal column. Girl, get it together. Because what happens later in this episode? You're going to need that backbone like it's structural. Cut to Beatrice and Anaya catching up, and they are still processing the bombshell about Gabriel's allegedly 52-year-old sneaky link situation. Beatrice is worried about Kenzie because Kenzie is head over heels in lovecation mode. Which, valid, Gabriel is fine, but at what cost? Beatrice claims they're both lucky to be with each other, and I'm going to need everyone to remember she said that, because the foreshadowing here is doing the Lord's work. But the bombshell I'm about to drop later? It makes this Gabriel situation look like a kindergarten crush. The boys are doing their little bonding moment, and Gabriel takes this golden opportunity to console Sean about the Kenzie situation. Sean acknowledges they kissed in the pool. Very mature, very evolved. Then Gabriel just casually drops that Kenzie is his second option. To the boys, out loud, with his whole chest.
Hand me the popcorn, because allegedly, that's the kind of information that should not be making it back to Beatrice. Except, oh wait, Beatrice then pulls Gabriel for a chat to confirm she's his person. And Gabriel, my brother in chaos, does the brave, insane thing and tells her Kenzie is in fact his second option. He explains that when they had their chat, he was a bit turned off because he felt different culture vibes with Kenzie. Beatrice deep down is worried he's going to mess around. She admits she can be goofy with him, but is nervous, which is not common for her. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Gabriel is being refreshingly honest? Or is this the slowest motion red flag you've ever witnessed in your life? I genuinely need to hear it. But save your shock for what's coming next, because the real Bombshell hasn't even introduced himself to the villa yet.
Anaya and Melanie catch up about the sincere conversation, and Melanie casually drops that she's going to explore things with KC. Now, on paper, Anaya is cool with it. She's treating this experience as an opportunity to explore for herself. And honestly, that is the healthiest energy I've seen on this entire show. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But here's the thing though, there's a difference between saying you're cool with it and watching your best friend lock lips with your man's face in a public setting in front of God and the production crew. We'll come back to that. Trust me, we will absolutely come back to that. Quick bedtime montage. Sean gives Kenzie a goodnight kiss so deep I felt like I needed to look away. Melanie completely curbs Sincere from cuddling, which honestly was poetry in motion. And Kayda? Kayda is definitely into Zach. The girl physically cannot keep her hands off him. Mark this in the timeline because it pays off later in a way that nobody could have predicted. What's coming up next involves apples, ketchup, and a British man explaining tea to an American. You cannot make this up. In the morning, Melanie wakes up and immediately announces that she's going to be messy today. And she surely did not disappoint. Let this be our foreshadow for the day. First thing she does is grab Casey for a chat. And although Anaya seemed okay with it yesterday, seeing it actually happen in front of her, yeah, I think we can safely say that it definitely bothered her all right. I think Melanie is taking the Sincere situation as an opportunity or an excuse to be as messy as she wants without taking anyone else's feelings into consideration. In another conversation, we get Kayda is dipping her apples in ketchup. Apples in ketchup. I genuinely had to pause and rewatch the scene to make sure my eyes were not deceiving me. Kayda, sweetie, what is happening in your culinary brain? Drop your most cursed food combo in the comments because I refuse to believe Kayda is alone in this. She is. She's alone in this. We are not joining her. Then Zach, blessed and unhinged Zach, decides this is the perfect moment to correct her on the fact that chai tea is just TT. He loves mansplaining, or as we'll be calling it from now on, British-splaining. And then, just to round out the personality profile, he reveals that he shaves his legs to be more aerodynamic. Sir, you are in a villa, not the Tour de France. What are you aerodynamically optimizing for? I have so many questions. Comment below. Is Zach the unintentional comedy of the season, or is he secretly running a long con? I cannot decide. Meanwhile, Kenzie and Melanie catch up after Melanie's KC chat. Melanie gets a text for the Boss Babe Challenge, and she immediately announces she's ready to be messy today. Red alert. Red alert. When a Love Island contestant announces they're going to be messy, you know something is about to happen that requires a Hague Tribunal review. The premise is simple. Each girl picks a guy she's not coupled up with, partners up with him for the challenge, and answers questions like who's faking it for that promotion and who needs to be fired. This is essentially a corporate HR nightmare disguised as a flirting game, and I am obsessed. Oh, and one more thing. There's a new bombshell named Corbin waiting in the wings. The girls don't know yet. The boys don't know yet. Only we know. And I'm just sitting here clutching my pearls because I can see exactly where this train is going. My prediction going in was that either Kayda or Beatrice would be the bad babe of the day. But what actually unfolds? We're about to find out together, and it is wilder than I could have scripted. Anaya's up first, and she picks Sean. Okay, fair. Sean is having a moment. Then, for her question about who would take credit for the group project, she picks KC. And KC looks very perturbed about being called out like that in front of the class. Then, Anaya gets her surprise kiss with Corbin, in secret. Because the other girls and boys still don't know he exists. Then, Anaya goes back to KC for another makeout. So that's 3 guys in 3 minutes. 3! Love Island. What kind of operation are you running over there? This is the most efficient productivity I have ever witnessed on this show. If you're as shocked as I am right now, let me know in the comments, because Anaya just casually broke a world record and we need to acknowledge it. But hold on to your seats, because Beatrice is up next, and she is about to make a choice that has consequences. Beatrice picks Sincere as her partner, and Melanie? Melanie's face cannot hide her emotions. The girl has zero poker face, and I love that for her personally, but absolutely not for her gameplay. Then comes the question, who isn't afraid to step on toes to climb to the top? Beatriz picks Kenzie, not Kayda, not someone with whom she has no relationship, Kenzie, the girl currently sharing oxygen with Beatriz's man's allegedly stated second option. Kenzie is surprised. I'm surprised. The studio audience that doesn't exist is surprised. Beatriz is, however, very happy with the new Bombshell. So we're stacking up tension here like Jenga blocks during an earthquake. Then Beatriz goes back to Gabe to make out, and my boy did not disappoint. The chemistry there is undeniable. But what comes later? Beatriz makes amends in a way I genuinely didn't expect. Stick with me, because that scene legitimately changed my entire opinion of her. Trinity is up, and she picks bad cop Sean. These games are so hard to watch when you're trying to keep up with who's allegedly into whom. Love Island USA is officially NSFW, and I'm going to need a flowchart and a glass of wine. Trinity's question? Who is faking it for that promotion? And she picks Bryce. We love the honesty. The man is in a couple with her, and she just publicly called him a corporate fraud in front of the entire villa. Bryce tries to step up as a man, and Kenzie delivers what might be the funniest line of the entire episode, basically calling out that Trinity is getting some of that turtle tongue. Comment your verdict below. Is Bryce salvageable, or is the turtle tongue allegation a no-going-back situation? I need to know exactly where you stand on this. Melanie's up next, and she picks KC, the bestie's man, right in front of Sincere's face. The man looked like he had just witnessed his own funeral in 4K. Anaya, the supposed best friend, is reportedly a bit shocked at how chipper Casey was about being picked, which, valid concern, Anaya, valid concern. Then for the question, who needs to be fired, Melanie picks Kayda. Of course she does. And this is where I see conflict brewing on the horizon like a storm front. Melanie says it's all love. Kayda says it's fake love. The energy is so passive-aggressive, I felt it through my screen, and my therapist felt it through me. What comes next will make this look like a warm-up. Trust me on this one. Kenzie is up, and we know she's about to do some splits, both physical and emotional. First, she gives Kayda a kiss. Out of absolutely nowhere. I genuinely don't know if this is Love Island or a Las Vegas residency at this point. She picks Gabriel, of course, and this Latino man does not disappoint. The question, who is the office gossip? And of course she picks our resident tea hoarder Anaya, which, listen, I cannot argue with the scouting report on that one. Then Kenzie picks Sean, and he gives her the kiss she's been replaying in her head on a loop. The Sean and Kenzie connection is real, and Gabriel calling Kenzie his second option is starting to feel like a strategic error of historic proportions. Drop your hot takes. Should Kenzie commit to Sean or keep her options open with Gabriel? Because I have opinions, and I need to know if mine match yours. Kayda is up, and her crush pick is Sincere, the maximum drama option. Was it revenge for the dunking Melanie gave her? Was it a calculated move to send Melanie's blood pressure into the stratosphere? It was all of the above, and then some. For the question, who needs a promotion from their couple, she picks Sincere again. Kayda then declares she is tit for tat, and do not come for her, because she will come for you. Iconic. Bookmark this moment. We may be witnessing the birth of the new mess queen of Season 8 in real time. Then, the boys are about to find out what happened, and Sincere is about to make a discovery that genuinely breaks me. Challenge wraps up, and the girls and boys split off to debrief. Beatriz, being Beatriz, says she didn't notice the bombshell in the room at first because she was busy trying to scoop up the prize money with her leg. The girls are gagging. I'm gagging. Melanie cannot stop talking about how Bombshell Corbin is her type to the T, semi-trying to lick the donut in front of the office while still technically coupled up with Sincere. The whole thing is happening, and she will not stop narrating it to let everyone know. Bryce is complaining to the boys about being picked as the dunking guy. Melanie asks Kayda about picking Sincere when asked who needed a promotion from their relationship, and Kayda admits it wasn't even about the question. She just wanted to pick Sincere to get back Melanie for dunking her first. Melanie seems to get it, and they make up and hug. I like Kayda. She doesn't shy away, and I think the girls are going to think twice before messing with her. Am I the only one? But here is the part that broke me. Sincere reveals to Sean that he loved that kiss with Kayda, and says he's in a literal and figurative sticky situation. Sincere,
my brother in deluded confidence. She is not into you. She is all in on Zach. You are about to fudge up something with a woman who has zero interest in fudging up anything with you back. Read the room. In that same convo, Sean reveals that Kenzie doesn't want to give Zach the time of day, and he thinks she's emotionally immature for it. And I cannot believe I am agreeing with a cop.
Kenzie at minimum owes Zach a conversation.
The bar is on the floor. Tell me below, is Sincere salvageable, or are we watching a man speedrun his own downfall in real time? I'm leaning hard toward downfall.
At night, Bryce brings up his saltiness over the sliming and talks about how other couples are weaker because they break up over one conversation. Sir, you got dunked in slime. You did not get abandoned at the altar. Calibrate the dramatics. He somehow pulls it off though, because Trinity originally thought they had more friend vibes, but Bryce convinces her they're building a stronger foundation. Friend zone to foundation in a single conversation is genuinely an impressive verbal escape act. Bryce is fighting for his Love Island life out here with everything he's got, even if what he's got is allegedly limited. But the real diplomatic masterpiece of the night? That comes next, and it's the most mature moment of the entire episode. Beatrice pulls Kenzie for a chat to explain why she picked her for the sliming. Kenzie reveals she didn't think about Beatrice's feelings because she was in her own head. And Beatrice then realizes she didn't think about what could be going on in Kenzie's head either. They actually communicate, like adults, with self-awareness. Kenzie can be mature with the girls, it seems. Beatrice tells Kenzie she should get first dibs with the Bombshell, which is a massive olive branch. They hash it out and, not gonna lie, Beatrice is starting to grow on me. This is genuine character development, and it makes the next scene hurt. Because we are about to hit the fireplace, and Beatrice's olive branch, it's about to get set on fire by a 6-foot 4-inch man from Miami. Fireplace time. Stuff is about to go down. Remember, Sean and Kenzie are vulnerable. Remember, Beatrice just promised Kenzie first dibs. KC introduces Corbin, 22 years old, Miami, Florida. Tall, dark, handsome. 6 feet 4 inches. Melanie is way too giddy. Way too giddy. The level of giddy you do not bring to a man who is technically not yet your man in a room full of your other not yet men. Corbin opens with, "Ladies, nice to see you again." And the boys are confused because they don't know about the secret challenge intro. Corbin then reveals the meeting, and you can see the boys doing math in their heads. Bad math, sad math. The kind of math that makes you reconsider your life choices. Corbin gets to know the girls. Every single one of them is feeling him. He is the epitome of a bombshell. The boys are nervous. Sincere is whispering to anyone who will listen about how giddy Melanie got, which, brother, you have bigger problems than that. Kenzie literally says she thinks every girl wants a slice. Sincere is openly saying Melanie would pick Corbin over him today. The boys are microanalyzing every body movement from across the lawn like they're watching game film. And get this, Corbin remembers every single girl's name from the challenge. He's smart, he's hot, he has emotional intelligence. We have a problem here, boys. A 6-foot 4-inch problem with a Florida accent and a working memory. But wait until you hear what happens next, because this is where the entire episode pivots into a war zone. Surprisingly, Melanie pulls Corbin for the first private chat, taking charge. The girls are gagged because the unspoken understanding was that Kenzie should get first dibs since Beatrice just literally promised her. But Melanie didn't know that promise had been made, so technically she's not violating anything that was actually communicated to her. Beatrice announces she didn't like how Melanie was moving and she'll bring it up tonight. Cue the ominous music. Corbin tells Melanie he already feels comfortable with her. He's the youngest child, 22, with a sister 10 years older, so he's basically grew up as an only child. The flirting is mad heavy. Meanwhile, the girls are not having it with Melanie's motions whatsoever. Melanie's revenge arc is definitely messy as heck. She did say she was going to be messy today, and she absolutely cashed that check. Tell me in the comments, is Melanie justified in taking her shot, or did she just torch her relationships with the whole girl group on day 1 of Bombshell Week? I'm genuinely torn. Sincere and Sean have a chat. Sean is trying to console Sincere, who is feeling like he had his lunch money taken in front of the whole cafeteria, and the kids who took it are dancing about it. Then Melanie comes back to the girl crew, not knowing how they feel about her. And boom, Beatrice says how excessive Melanie's chat was. Melanie and Beatrice spark up. Sparks fly. Melanie says it wasn't on purpose. They are fighting.
And meanwhile, can we please appreciate that Gabriel is just lying back, watching his girl fight with the same focus a guy gives a 98% rated Netflix show. The man is invested. He is comfortable. He is unbothered. King energy, honestly. Melanie's not feeling it and walks out. We have mess with the girls. Melanie tries to pull Kayda for a chat, and Kayda, smart girl, wants to avoid it because Kayda already knows the answer to that conversation. And the answer is no thank you. Oh man, do we have a new mess queen this season? I love it. I'm here for it. I'm subscribed to it. We open with Anaya consoling Melanie because at this point, Anaya is not a contestant. Anaya is the resident in-house therapist, life coach, meditation instructor, and apparently the only adult in the building. Somebody pay this woman. Then we cut to Trinity giving feedback to Beatrice. And listen, Trinity clocked Beatrice so fast it should be illegal. She calls out the whole trying to get the last word energy, delivers Melanie's perspective with the precision of a closing argument, and Beatrice's response is essentially, I don't care that much. Sis, you stirred the pot, you served the soup, and now you do not want to do the dishes? That is not how this works. Beatrice revealed her hand in that moment. She is not exactly a girl's girl. She is more of a girl's acquaintance, and only if the lighting is good. But here is what is wild. Just wait until you see what Beatrice does later in this episode. Because by the end of the night, her arc completely flips, and I am still not sure if it was growth or marketing. Drop in the comments right now. Do you think Beatrice is genuine, or is she playing the long game? Sean pulls Bryce and does the most grown man thing anyone has done on this island so far. He tells Bryce, straight up, that he is going to shoot his shot at Trinity. No sneaking, no whispering by the pool at 3 a.m., just transparency. Bryce says no hard feelings. But, and you know it, on the inside, Bryce is sweating through his swim trunks. He gives this interview about feeling like he is gambling, and you can practically hear his stomach folding in on itself. Then Sean drops the line of the episode. He calls himself the backup quarterback trying to get his reps in. Sean, you are not the backup quarterback. You are the third-string practice squad guy who just got called up because the starter twisted an ankle, and you have one drive to prove yourself before they ship you back to the practice facility. Foreshadowing? Allegedly. We will get back to this. But save your reactions, because what happens to Sean at the end of this episode is so much darker than this little moment. The recoupling has not happened yet, and trust me, you are going to want to be sitting down for that. Now let's talk about Corbin, our shiny new bombshell. The man who, supposedly, according to his ex who allegedly spilled some tea, does not date Caucasian women. Cut to Corbin, locked into Kenzie's eyes like they hold the secret to immortality, complimenting them with the dedication of a man writing a sonnet. Kenzie is giddy. He asks for a reminder of their kiss, and she reminds him, enthusiastically. So that whole narrative his ex was pushing, apparently not aging well. Just saying. Then, and this is where it gets unhinged, Kenzie does her interview and says Corbin is the only one who turns her on. I'm sorry, excuse me? Gabe, the man who you were giggling with 3 episodes ago? The man whose existence made you blush on national television? Gabe? Just erased? Discontinued? Out of stock? Kenzie is playing the game, and I respect the hustle, but the math is not mathing. Comment below, do you think Kenzie even remembers Gabe's name at this point? Or has Corbin's eye contact officially short-circuited her hard drive? And here is the bombshell though. Corbin does not stop at Kenzie. Oh no. The man has a roster. Kayda pulls Corbin for a chat, and I need everyone to understand. Kayda walks into this conversation like she owns the villa, the production, and possibly the entire ITV network. Corbin asks how breakfast works, which on Love Island is basically asking, are we monogamous yet? Kayda says Zach is her one, but she is open to multiple meals. And listen, I hope Corbin understands what he is signing up for, because this is a woman who eats apples with ketchup. Her palate is unhinged. Her commitment to chaos is total. She hypes Corbin up, tells him the other boys were shooting bricks when he walked in, and then he asks for a reminder of their kiss. Smooth. Practiced. Probably his go-to line. And Kayda curbs him. Not rudely, not coldly, just expertly. She tells him she needs more conversations first. She needs to get to know him. This is how you do it. She is respectful to Zach. She does not shut Corbin down. She keeps him interested by denying him, and she keeps her own options technically open. Kayda is playing chess while half the villa is still trying to figure out how to set up the checkers board. But, and you knew there was a but, What Kayda does next with this information is what really moves the needle, and we will get there in a second. If you love a girl who plays the game with class, let me know in the comments. Kayda fans, assemble.
Trinity steals Corbin next, because at this point in the episode, Corbin is essentially public transportation. They talk family. They talk building a happy home. Trinity wants stability. Corbin says all the right things and admits in his interview he is into Trinity. So let's count. In one afternoon, Corbin is into Kenzie's eyes, into Kayda's energy, and into Trinity's family values. Sir, you are not a man. You are a buffet. Then Anaya pulls him. He talks about being a lover boy who has only been in 2 relationships, one of which spilled some tea on him publicly, which honestly is its own video. Anaya tells him she is exploring with Casey, but they are open with each other. Anaya is communicating like a fully formed adult, which on this show is essentially a flex. Here's what is really wild though. While Corbin is doing his world tour, someone is watching all of this very, very carefully. And that someone is about to make a decision that changes the entire trajectory of this episode. We are building to it. Melanie pulls Sincere and asks him to be in friend mode. The man heard friend zone so loud, his soul left his body. And then, plot twist of the century, Sincere actually handles it well. He is more worried about whether Corbin is even her type, and he comforts her like a grown man with words and feelings. And just like that, Sincere went from the doghouse straight back to Melanie's embrace within one conversation. I think Sincere needs to send Beatriz a thank you card, a bouquet, and possibly a fruit basket, because Beatriz's whole drama from last episode is what reset this couple. But here's the thing. This reset is not as stable as it looks. Sincere later starts spiraling, calls the situation middle school energy, and presumes he is the popular kid getting replaced by the new transfer student. We will get into that meltdown shortly, and trust me, it gets messier before it gets better. The next morning, Corbin brings out a breakfast platter for all the girls, a shared platter. Then Anaya and Kenzie have the morning chat. Anaya is getting her daily catch-up of tea, and I am convinced Anaya watches this show like we do. She is one of us. She is the audience surrogate. She is just doing it in a swimsuit. Kenzie admits she is vibing Corbin, and Anaya, like the loyal friend she is, drops the bomb that Corbin tried to kiss Kayda 3 times. 3 attempts, like he was trying to unlock an iPhone. Kenzie immediately recalibrates. Suddenly, Sean feels safe again. The stress is getting to both of them, and suddenly, meditation is necessary. Anaya leads the Islanders through some meditation exercises, and Kenzie throws in some splits, because of course she does, and they spread positivity around the villa like Wi-Fi. But here is what nobody saw coming. This little gossip session is the seed that grows into Kenzie's recoupling decision. The information she gets from Anaya rewires her entire game. Remember this moment. If you are loving the messy timeline so far, drop a comment telling me which girl in the villa you trust the most right now. Because honestly, I am starting to think it might be a 3-way tie, and I need backup. Corbin and Kenzie do round 2, and shockingly, Corbin owns it. He says he moved too fast. He acknowledges the fudge boy vibes. Self-awareness on Love Island? In this economy? Kenzie tells him the Kayda situation made her want to run back to Sean. Corbin hypes her up again, tells her she is on his mind. And you can see his recoupling pitch forming in real time. The man is writing his speech as he speaks. This is the moment Corbin decides who he is picking. And I think most of us watching figured it out too. But the show, bless their hearts, is going to try to convince us it is a mystery. It is not. But you know what is a mystery? What happens to Sean? We are circling that drain very soon. Now, the main event of the day. Beatriz pulls Melanie. She wants to kill the tension. And listen, I went in skeptical, but Beatriz actually shows up. She acknowledges her delivery was the problem. Melanie says it was disrespectful. Beatriz explains she was advocating for Kenzie and Trinity, and the two agree to squash it. But then it goes somewhere I genuinely did not expect. Melanie hypes up Beatriz's athleticism, and Beatriz opens up about wanting to feel more feminine. She talks about her parents telling her to never let people see her cry. That hit me. That is a real moment. That is the kind of thing that does not usually survive the editing room on a dating show. Beatriz says she admires how Melanie is in tune with her emotions. Melanie says Beatriz can play sports with them and they balance each other. Melanie melts. The beef? Squashed. For now. Because, and I cannot stress this enough, Melanie is volatile. Beatriz is carrying a flame.
2 emotionally activated people in a villa with cameras? That peace treaty has a shelf life. Save your bets for the comments. How many days until one of them is upset again? But hold that thought, because the bigger emotional moment in this episode is still coming, and it involves someone packing a suitcase.
Melanie pulls Corbin again, because Melanie has decided Corbin is her type to a T. And Sincere is watching this happen like he is watching his car get towed. Sincere vents to Anaya. He calls Melanie hypocritical. Anaya, true to form, gives him the soft truth. She tells him to man up and pull Melanie back. Sincere looks worried. Then he says the line. He compares the villa to middle school and assumes he is the popular kid getting replaced by the new boy. Sincere. The delusion is loud, but also kinda cute. He pulls Melanie. He opens up. He tells her she hurt him when she put him in friend mode. And Melanie has this moment of clarity. She realizes that maybe being babied during her past breakdowns has not served her. Maybe she needs someone who calls her out. Maybe Sincere is showing growth. This is either a building moment or a delayed implosion. Drop your hot takes below. Is this a real breakthrough, or are these two heading straight back into volatility? Casey catches up with Anaya, and listen, Casey has been on a glow-up speedrun since episode 1. He hypes Anaya up. He talks about how darker-skinned women get the short end of the stick in dating, and how he sees that because of his sisters. He says he wants a strong, beautiful black woman. Anaya feels seen. And I gotta say it, Casey is climbing the charts faster than anyone on the show. The man went from being lonely behind a plant door to being one of the most emotionally intelligent voices in the villa. He grew up around women. He listens. He gets it. Are we looking at the new strongest couple? I am not ready to give them the crown yet, but the petition is being drafted. Comment below if you are an Anaya and Casey truther, because I need to know who is riding with me on this. Corbin pulls Kayda again. The man does not quit. Kayda keeps the same energy. She is interested, but not giving anything up. She talks about loving love. She talks about leaving the island with someone. She does not kiss him. Again. Meanwhile, Zach is watching from across the lawn, sweating in HD. But then Zach says he is not bothered because he has no other connection on the island besides Kayda, except for Bryce. Their bromance. Their close, supportive, deeply emotionally available bromance. I am just saying, if those two end up co-parenting a houseplant by the end of the season, I will not be shocked. Their friendship is giving, we should probably talk about this in therapy, and I am here for the journey. Joking, mostly, sort of. We will revisit. And speaking of Bryce, his next conversation has a moment so unexpectedly vulnerable, I had to pause the episode. Hang on. Bryce pulls Trinity, and finally, this man gives us something. He talks about being bullied as a kid because the hottest girl in school announced she was into him and the other boys turned on him for it. That is actually heartbreaking. And it also explains a lot about why Bryce has been moving so carefully in this villa. Trinity opens up about her own insecurities. Bryce hypes her up. It is genuinely sweet. But here is the bombshell, though. This moment of vulnerability happens right before the recoupling, which means Trinity has just been emotionally bonded to Bryce minutes before she has to make her choice. Convenient editing? Strategic timing from production? You decide. But the timing is sus. The girls are picking tonight. The boys are nervous. Sean is sweating. Bryce is sweating. Even Gabe, who has barely been in this episode, is sweating in spirit. And then, Corbin gets a secret text. He gets to pick first before the recoupling. The bombshell privilege is real. The whole villa does not know yet, but you and I both know what is about to happen. He is picking either Kenzie or Kayda, and Kayda has shut him down twice now. So unless he is into being denied a third time live on television, the math is pretty clear. But just before the recoupling, Kenzie does something completely unhinged. She pulls KC and Sincere for a chat. She tells them she is feeling Gabe, Sean, and Corbin, and that it is a flip of a coin between them. Babe, a coin has two sides. There are 3 names. Someone please give this girl a die, or a spinning wheel, or a magic 8-ball. Then Ariana walks in, eating up the whole entire frame, interrupts the chat, and we head to the fire pit. Okay, deep breath. Here we go. Corbin picks first. He talks about how he never felt he could open up with a girl so fast. Builds it up, and picks Kenzie. We knew it. The whole villa knew it. The patio furniture knew it. And just to circle back, Corbin's ex, who allegedly told the world he does not date Caucasian women, ma'am, you did not know that man at all. Anaya picks, of course. He makes her feel like a queen.
Casey has officially gone from the lonely plant door guy to a recoupled, validated, emotionally intelligent king. Standing ovation. Melanie picks Sincere. She picks him because he makes her feel seen, validated, and makes her laugh. Okay, you two, stop playing with us. Be good to each other this time. Kayda picks Zach. Surprising absolutely no one. Bryce's bromance heart held steady. Beatriz picks Gabe. And her reason? She gets to feel feminine and soft with him after a whole life of being tough. Gabe says he feels safe with her. That was actually beautiful. I did not expect Beatriz to deliver the most emotional speech of the night, and yet here we are. Character development is real. Trinity picks last. She gives this whole speech that sounds like she is about to pick Sean. The editing team is teasing it. The music is swelling. And then she picks Bryce, the safe pick, the vanilla pick, the I just had an emotional moment with him 5 minutes ago pick. And Sean? Sean is left standing alone. Sean is single. Sean is vulnerable. Sean is going home. And listen, I am genuinely sad about this. Sean brought way more drama, charisma, and entertainment value than Bryce has in his entire Villa run. Bryce has been narratively boring. Sean was a storyline. He had jokes, he had self-awareness, he had the backup quarterback bit. Hopefully the mayor who shaded him is thrilled that he is back at the precinct after 1 week. Welcome home, sir. Kenzie reveals that even if Corbin had not picked her, she would have picked Corbin anyway. So Sean was cooked from every angle. Sean and Kenzie share a goodbye. The cast is sad, we are sad. The villa is officially down 1 main character. But here's the thing though. Tomorrow, 3 new bombshells are entering the villa. And from the previews, they are hot. Like, rewatch the trailer twice hot. The villa is about to be turned completely upside down, and we have not even seen the half of it yet. Okay, let me give you my read on where this is going, and you tell me in the comments if I am cooking or if I am completely wrong. Melanie and Sincere. I think they actually make it. They hit early turbulence, they did the whole explore other people detour, and I think this whole experience is going to scare them both straight. Sometimes you need to see the alternative to appreciate what you had. My prediction? They come back stronger after this and become one of the most stable couples by the end. Beatriz and Gabe. I am genuinely surprised by Beatriz opening up about always having to be tough. That was a real moment. And Kenzie's Gabe interest has officially evaporated, so the Kenzie-Gabe storyline, done. I think Beatriz and Gabe have legs. They might quietly run further than people expect. Corbin and Kenzie. Corbin picking Kenzie was the safest move. He had no other real option after Kayda kept curbing him. The question is he actually feeling Kenzie, or did he just pick the path of least resistance? The new bombshells coming in are going to test this immediately, and I am not confident Corbin holds the line. Anaya and Casey. I thought they were flimsy at first, but Casey has been quietly putting in the work. Anaya is falling for him a little more every day. If Casey keeps this energy up, they could legitimately become the new strongest couple of the season. But the key word is if. He cannot slow down now. Kayda and Zach. Still strong, but Corbin is not done with Kayda, and Kayda likes attention. More conversations with Corbin could erode this, especially with new bombshells stirring everything up. I give them solid odds, but not unshakable ones.
We pick up right where episode 5 left us, with Sean walking out the door and the remaining Islanders doing what Islanders do best, pretending they are perfectly fine. And honestly, the audacity of this cast to be in a great mood after losing Sean is either deeply suspicious or deeply impressive. We are going to let that marinate. First up, Kenzie and Corbin are catching up after the recoupling, and my girl Kenzie is cheesing. And I mean full grin, ear to ear, woman who just found a $20 bill in an old jacket cheesing. She is radiating, which, for the record, is very cute, but also tells me everything I need to know about where her head is at. She's happy. She's comfortable. She's in a good spot. But here's the thing I'm already clocking. Corbin is 22 years old. He actually called Kenzie a cougar to her face, and she loved it. I cannot tell if this man is charming or just deeply unaware of the energy in that room. But either way it landed, so I suppose we give him the point. I have questions about this couple though. Good questions. The kind of questions that become very relevant later in this episode when a certain someone from North Carolina walks through that door. We are not there yet, save your shock. Meanwhile, Trinity and Bryce are debriefing, and this one is genuinely sweet.
Bryce is sad about Sean leaving, which makes complete sense since they had a real friendship in the villa. But here's what's interesting. He is also relieved. That is a complicated little cocktail of emotions, and Trinity seems to be clocking it. She is warming up to Bryce in a real way, and specifically mentions how relaxed he makes her feel. Which, if you've been watching this season, you know that is not a small thing for Trinity. That woman does not relax for just anyone. And then we have Melanie and Sincere. And I want to be very intentional about how I describe this, because the last couple of days have been a situation for these two. But it seems like going through the fire of that decoupling drama actually pulled them closer together, at least for now, at least for this morning. I say that with full love and absolutely zero confidence that it will hold. More on that later. Now here is where my heart fully belongs this episode. KC and Anaya. My new favorite couple. KC is opening up about how nervous he was at first, and how his feelings are genuinely getting deeper. This man knows exactly what he is doing. He is making his girl feel chosen and seen and special. And Anaya is getting in her feels in the best possible way. She is absolutely cheesing, and I am here for every single second of it. I need you to remember how good things look between these two right now, because the previews at the end of this episode are going to make that memory hurt a little bit. Just file that away. And then Kayda and Zach, because this couple is giving us something very wholesome and very cute, and I cannot help it. I like Zach more than I expected to. Kayda literally cannot keep her lips off this man, and she made it crystal clear in her confessional that Zach is always going to be her first choice because he makes her feel safe, confident, and comfortable. 3 very specific words from a woman who clearly knows what she needs. But what's coming for Kayda and Zach later in this episode? A whole test they did not sign up for. I'm not saying more yet, but stay tuned. We also get the sweetest moment of the episode so far with Beatriz and Gabriel. Gabe tells Beatriz that he was genuinely grateful for the way she talked about him. But Beatriz, being the perceptive woman she is, noticed that he did not rush over to her after she selected him, so she was not sure where his head really was. And Gabe, in the most emotionally intelligent thing I have heard a man on this show say, explains that when he speaks in his main language, he feels like he is letting his real heart be known. So Beatriz switches to Spanish, and they share this genuine, soft, beautiful moment together. And I am not crying, you are crying. And then Gabe accidentally kicks her prosthetic leg, and Beatriz just deadpans, "Do not worry, I cannot feel it." I laughed out loud. That woman is hilarious, and I love her. The girls are getting ready for bed, and Kenzie is going off about how happy she is. The whole villa is in a surprisingly good mood. Everyone is coupled, everyone is cozy, morning vibes are genuinely hitting. And you know what that means on this show? Something is absolutely about to go wrong. Drop your thoughts below. Which couple are you most worried about heading into this episode? Because by the end of it, your answer might change completely. Morning hits, and the vibes are still somehow intact, which at this point feels suspicious. But let us appreciate the peace while it exists, because it has an expiration date stamped right on it. Now here is a detail that I do not think enough people are talking about. Gabe and Beatriz catch up in the morning, and Gabe gets to know Beatriz more by asking what she looks for in a guy. She is looking for a gentleman. She wants deeper conversations. She wants substance. Gabe then asks about her past experiences, and Beatriz reveals she has had 2 boyfriends, one of whom was 20 years older than her. Gabe looks shocked, and then reveals that his ex is 18 years older than him. These 2 people, who grew up in completely different countries, somehow have almost the exact same wild relationship history chapter. The parallels, the symmetry. The universe really said, let me put these 2 together and see what happens. I am genuinely invested in this couple now, which, knowing Love Island, is exactly when something terrible is about to happen to them. But what Beatriz says in her confessional is the detail I think people sleep on. She is happy right now, but she is worried about putting all her eggs in one basket and being betrayed later. And given what is coming later in this episode, with 3 new people walking through that door, that fear is going to be relevant again very quickly. Remember, she said this. And then we have Anaya and Sincere having a real, honest check-in. Sincere admits he was tripping during the last decoupling and says he feels much better now. He asks Anaya how he can build Melanie's trust back up. Anaya tells him he is doing a good job and to keep it up. She also talks about KC in this conversation, and she is glowing, just describing how good he makes her feel. These 2 are something special, and I am protective of them. Now, Kayda and Zach have a moment that is equal parts adorable and deeply educational. Zach teaches Kayda that the word for watermelon in Greek is something that sounds remarkably like a word you would absolutely get flagged for on a school project. Karpoozy. I will let you look that one up. The point is, they are having the best time, and these two have genuine chemistry that reads as effortless. Zach is growing on me every single episode, and I did not expect that at the start of the season. Drop your hot takes in the comments. Are Kayda and Zach your sleeper couple of the season? Because I am starting to think they might be. Then we get the girls having their morning catch-up, and Beatriz comes up again. She is already showing some insecurity, and specifically worries that if someone new comes into the villa, Gabe might switch up on her. Which, objectively, is a completely fair concern on Love Island. That is basically the premise of the show. But it is also worth noting because the episode is about to test that exact fear. And Trinity tells Kenzie that what she really needs is her cowboy. This is where I need you to pause and appreciate the fact that the Love Island producers almost certainly heard this exact conversation, looked at the casting documents for the new Bombshells, and said, yes, go ahead, we are ready. Because what is coming next is not an accident.
Now a moment of actual good news that the fans have been waiting for. Love Island USA has brought back fan voting. Finally! The producers listened, the fans delivered the feedback, and the first vote window was June 9th, 7:30 to 10 p.m. Pacific time. This is significant because it puts power back in the audience's hands. And honestly, it is going to make the stakes of every couple's dynamic feel very different going forward. Keep that in mind as we watch these next few scenes, because the viewers are now a player in this game. But the conversation that genuinely got me was Casey and Anaya's morning catch-up, because these two went deep. Casey opens up about his relationship history and reveals he has only ever had one real girlfriend, a 3-year relationship. That's it. And Anaya shares her own, 2 relationships, one short, one longer. 2 people who have not exactly had the smoothest road to love, sitting across from each other in a villa in Fiji, and somehow making it feel like the most natural thing in the world. But here is the part that stuck with me. Casey has never lived somewhere new, never taken a big leap, never spread his wings the way he has always wanted to. And then he says he is open to moving to Atlanta. For a man who has never taken a big risk in his life, that is not a small thing to say out loud. And the reason he is even considering it? Anaya inspires him. She makes him want to be bolder. She makes him want to bet on himself. I am not a dramatic person, but I did have to put my phone down for a second after that one. Casey is falling hard. Like legitimately, genuinely. This is not just Love Island hard. And watching Anaya receive that with this quiet, glowing smile, that is the couple I am rooting for this season. Full stop. But you know, my happiness won't last long on this show, unfortunately. Yes, I'm foreshadowing. New text alert. Melanie screams, no. And I respect that reaction deeply because this woman just wants to enjoy one peaceful morning in that villa without something blowing up. But Love Island did not cast anyone to sit peacefully. So here we go. The slumber party challenge is announced. The boys get oiled up. The girls get into their lingerie. The villa is transformed into one enormous bed situation. Everyone looks incredible, and the energy is already at a 10 before the challenge has even been explained. And then Ariana steps in before our Islanders can accidentally start something that would require a content warning. Here is the game. The women are blindfolded. They have to find their man using only touch and instinct. No talking, no helping. And here is the twist that makes this extra messy. Each woman has a color-coded paint, and everyone they touch gets marked. So at the end, the evidence of every single choice is literally painted on people's bodies. No lies, no alibi. The receipts are in the paint. Trinity goes first. And Trinity, apparently, has decided that her strategy is going to be kissing. She plants kisses on Gabe, then Casey, then Zach, before eventually landing on Bryce and cuffing herself to him. Which, in isolation, sounds like chaos. But she found her man. Points for effectiveness, question marks for methodology. Melanie is next. And this is where things go from messy to marvelously messy. Melanie kisses Casey. She kisses Zach. And then, in a moment that had everyone in that villa frozen, she kisses Trinity. My girl accidentally kissed another woman and did not immediately recoil. I am not here to diagnose anything. I am simply noting that Melanie went for it. But here is the really volatile part. Melanie goes back and forth between Corbin and Sincere, acting like she genuinely cannot tell the difference. Now, here is the detail. Sincere has long hair. We have all seen it. She knows it.
And Melanie played confused for a solid amount of time before cuffing herself to Sincere. And Sincere does not feel good. Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to volatility. The piece of this morning lasted approximately 4 hours. I appreciate the effort. This game is messy, and it is about to get messier. Let me know in the comments, on a scale of 1 to actually chaotic, how messy was this slumber party challenge? Because we have not even gotten to the bombshells yet, and I need you to be prepared.
Okay, buckle in, because this is where episode 6 becomes episode 6. Kenzie is in the middle of her blindfolded round, getting a little bit of that Gabe energy along the way. And then, Soul drops in. Soul is 24, from California, short hair, and I clocked within approximately 30 seconds of her arrival that this woman is going to be a problem. The boys see her and the reaction is immediate. These men are simple creatures, and Soul is a lot of woman to process at one time. This entrance is perfectly timed to coincide with Kenzie giving Zach a kiss during her round, which, in the chaos, almost nobody catches. But I caught it. That is the detail everyone missed. While all eyes are on the new bombshell, Kenzie quietly leaves her paint mark on Zach. File that detail wherever you are keeping the other ones. Soul is doing her thing during the challenge, and she is already showing interest in Corbin, Casey, and Sincere. 3 very specific men, 2 of whom are in what I consider the 2 strongest couples in the villa right now. The girl has taste, and she has no interest in making anyone comfortable. Kenzie eventually finds Corbin and locks in. We move on. Beatriz takes her turn and finds Gabe with impressive speed. This woman locked in and cuffed herself with the energy of someone who has absolutely had enough of the chaos and is not participating. I respect the efficiency. And then it is Kayda's turn, and another bombshell drops. Jen, 23, from Florida. Tall, blonde, green eyes, big presence, and absolutely zero hesitation about what she is here to do. Jen wastes exactly no time. She makes her rounds during Kayda's turn, and Sincere, I need to talk about Sincere for a second, because this man is enjoying himself in a way that is going to cost him later. He is having the time of his life, and his face says everything his mouth refuses to. Kayda eventually finds Zach after what I would describe as a journey. She is not rushing. She is thorough. She is methodical. She finds her man. And then it is Anaya's turn. And this is where I need to stand up and applaud, because Anaya is the only person in this entire challenge who does not use kissing as her strategy. Everyone else was out there collecting lip prints like trading cards, and Anaya chose to rely purely on touch and instinct, like the challenge actually suggested. She finds KC. She gives him one kiss, her kiss, not a research kiss, a this is my man kiss. I freaking love these 2. Now, when all is said and done and the blindfolds come off, my official ranking of messiness is as follows. Melanie wins the Chaos Championship. She kissed another woman, she played confused about her own boyfriend's hair length, and the paint did not lie. The paint never lies. The girls see the colors on their men, and their collective intuition immediately points to the bombshells. The boys try the classic defense of, the colors got mixed up in the chaos. Baby, the colors are on your bodies. They did not mix themselves. Comment your theories. Do you think any of the original guys were genuinely into the bombshells during that challenge, or were they just playing the game? Because Sincere's face is giving me a very specific answer, and I want to know if you see it too.
After the challenge, Ariana formally introduces our new additions to the villa. Soul, 24, California. Already logged her top 3 interests, and 2 of them are in committed dynamics. She is here to shake the table, and she is not being subtle about it. Jen, 23, Florida. My girl is bouncy, and she arrived with the confidence of someone who has never once doubted her own entrance. Tall, beautiful, and immediately picking up on every vibe in the room. And then, right in the middle of these introductions, Bryce casually drops that he knows Jen from outside the villa. Just throws it out there. Trinity's face does a very subtle but completely readable thing in that moment. We are filing that under things to revisit. Now, before we even get to the 3rd bombshell, Ariana goes around and asks the guys how they are feeling about the new arrivals. And KC, who has been doing everything right this entire episode, opens his mouth and says he feels blessed. Blessed. Not happy for my partner. Not excited to see how this plays out. Blessed. Like he just won a raffle. Beatriz clocks it immediately. Her face does exactly what yours probably just did. That slight wince of someone watching a man accidentally step on a landmine he had no idea was there. And Anaya? Anaya feels it. She does not make a scene, she does not say a word, but you can see it land on her in real time and just sit there. This is the first time KC has put himself in the doghouse this season. First time. The man has been near perfect, and then the bombshells walk in, and suddenly he is blessed. Out loud, in front of his girl, on television. The road to Casey's first couch is paved with one single word. And then, Caleb, 21, from North Carolina. I need you to go back to this morning. Trinity looked Kenzie in the face and told her what she really needs is her cowboy. The producers heard that conversation. They documented it. And then they sent Caleb. Kenzie hears North Carolina and she reacts immediately, visibly. She is thanking every Love Island god that has ever existed. And Corbin, who called this woman a cougar this very morning and had her absolutely glowing 12 hours ago, is standing right there watching all of it happen with full visibility. The Love Island producers are not our friends. They are our entertainers, and they are exceptionally gifted at what they do. Since Caleb is the one bombshell not currently generating active paint-related chaos, he gets time to get to know the girls. And Corbin is not happy. He is holding it together on the surface, but you can read every single thought on his face. He knows what he saw. He knows how she reacted. He is doing the math. Melanie does too much. Again. She is overly excited, she is physically in the way, and she has to be reminded for the second time this episode to step back and give other people space. Sincere watches her with the face of a man who is both completely unsurprised and quietly running out of patience, which tracks completely given everything we watched during the challenge. And then Zach asks for the blindfold back, because apparently watching your girl meet a new bombshell with full, unobstructed visibility is not a sufficient amount of discomfort. Kayda tells him absolutely not. Let him watch. My girl designed her own situation for this man, and I respect the creativity on a foundational level. Every single girl in that villa has collectively recognized that Caleb is Kenzie's type to an almost comedic degree of precision. Like someone submitted a detailed character profile to the casting department, and it was routed directly to a 21-year-old from North Carolina, and he was told, go be yourself. Corbin is at risk. That is not speculation. That is observation. The piece of this morning has an official end time, and it was the moment Caleb walked through that door. Now, the previews show Anaya upset with KC. And here is what I want to sit with, because KC and Anaya have been the standout couple of this entire episode in every good way. But one slip is all it takes. When Ariana asks KC how he is feeling about the bombshells arriving, he says he feels blessed. Anaya's face in that moment is a masterclass in restraint. That is the detail everyone missed. While all eyes were tracking the new arrivals, KC gave his first genuinely wrong answer on national television with his person standing right next to him. I think they fight through it, I do, but it is not going to be a smooth week for anyone in that villa. Am I wrong to still be fully rooting for KC and Anaya? Let me know in the comments, because I need to know if that blessed comment shook your faith in him too.
All right, let us get into what I think is coming, because episode 6 set up a lot of chess pieces, and episode 7 is about to start moving them. First, Kenzie and Caleb. I think Kenzie is going to fall for this man. He is 1 year younger than Corbin, which is not the issue. The issue is that he seems to tick every single box that Kenzie has been quietly hoping for, and the producers put him in that villa on purpose. Now here is the nuance though. Corbin might actually benefit from this situation if he plays it right, because Soul showed immediate interest in him during the challenge, and if Corbin can open himself up to getting to know Soul while letting Kenzie take her time with Caleb, there is a world where both of them come out of this stronger. Or, alternatively, everyone implodes and we get incredible television. Either way, we win. Second, Bryce and Jen. Bryce revealed that he knows Jen from outside the villa, and that surprised Trinity. Now, I've been watching Bryce, and I genuinely do not think Bryce can handle someone like Jen. He has said himself that he tends to go for more petite women, like Trinity, which tells me that physically he is already not in his usual lane with Jen. But the history between them is a wild card we do not have enough information about yet, and Trinity is paying attention. She is always paying attention. Third, Soul and the Chaos Tour.
Sol came in with a top 3 that reads like a greatest hits of complicated situations. Corbin is newly in his feelings about Kenzie wandering, Casey is the strongest man in the villa emotionally, and Sincere is a man who already proved this episode that he enjoys attention more than is strictly good for him. Sol is going to cause drama. That is not a prediction, that is a reading of her energy from the first 30 seconds. Fourth, Melanie and Sincere, officially volatile again. We watched it happen in real time. The Slumber Party Challenge cracked open something that the last couple of days had patched over, and Sincere's face during the Caleb introduction did not help. These two have genuine chemistry, but they also have genuine instability, and I think we are heading into another rough stretch for them. And fifth, my heart is still with Casey and Anaya. One wrong word does not erase what these two have been building, but Anaya is a woman who notices everything, and Sol already logged Casey on her interest list. This week is going to require Casey to show up with more intention than one blessed reaction. He has the capability, I think he rises to it, but I am watching closely.
We are picking up right after the slumber party, and the 3 new bombshells have officially entered the villa. Caleb, Jen, Sol. And the villa is processing. Now here is the detail I want you to lock in on right from the jump, because I think it got buried under all of the drama. Trinity tells the girls that Bryce knows one of the new bombshells. Specifically, he knew Jen from prior modeling gigs, and they had literally just shot together a few months ago. Bryce himself confirms this to the group, explains it was purely professional, and later reassures Trinity she has absolutely nothing to worry about. And here is what I found fascinating. When Bryce is talking to the group, he is practically glowing, talking about how Trinity, even though she knows Bryce knew Jen from before, takes the initiative to welcome the new girls, gave them a tour, showed her confidence. He is calling her his open-minded queen. He is hype about how she responded, and is attracted to her more. But the story that is dominating the morning is not Bryce and Trinity. It is Melanie and the optics disaster she created for herself during the blindfolded kiss game. Let me paint the picture. During the slumber party game, Melanie was blindfolded and ended up kissing both Sincere and Corbin back-to-back, multiple times. Now, in isolation, maybe that is explainable. She was blindfolded. She did not know. Fine. Except, she was also visibly tweaking with excitement when Caleb, the new male bombshell, walked in. Full enthusiasm. And Caleb happens to be Kenzie's exact type, which Kayda tries to explain to Sincere when he comes to her clearly bothered by all of it. Kayda goes back to Melanie to relay that Sincere was displeased, and Melanie confirms yes, her excitement was purely for Kenzie, not for herself. And honestly, I believe her. But here is the thing about optics. They do not care what you meant. They only care what it looked like. And what it looked like was a woman in a couple going absolutely feral over a new man walking into the villa while also kissing 2 different guys blindfolded. That is a 3-course meal of red flags, whether you intended it or not. Meanwhile, Casey casually mentions to the group that Sol is his type, and that she looks like his ex, except with a pixie cut. Sincere later relays this message to Anaya, and Anaya does not take this well. Anaya is seeing red. And we're going to get back to that because Anaya and Casey have a conversation later that is genuinely one of the more interesting dynamics this episode. All right, let us talk about the introductions because there is a lot of texture here that matters for what happens later. Jen is a model from Florida living in LA. Beautiful, poised, and she already has a pre-existing connection with Bryce from their modeling work. Noted. Sol is from Cali, works as a waitress and at a gym front desk. She is the youngest of 2. She came in a little nervous, but settled in quickly. And when the group asks who she is most interested in getting to know, Sol names her top 3 as Corbin, Casey, and Sincere. Not subtle. Not even a little bit subtle. She walked into the villa and immediately identified the most chaotic possible targets. Respect the efficiency, honestly. And then there is Caleb, 21 years old, from North Carolina, moved to Charleston. He welds for a living, he installs elevators, works on cars, and he has an accent that apparently made Kenzie temporarily forget how to form sentences. The girls cannot stop steering the conversation toward Kenzie when Caleb joins them. They are practically building a runway for this man to walk directly to her. And the girls are not wrong, because Caleb is, by every description in those notes, Kenzie's type to the absolute letter. And when Kenzie hears his voice, She is gone, cooked, completely unresponsive to logic. She describes it as making her feel like home. Kenzie is currently coupled up with Corbin. Corbin, who, by the way, separately tells Casey and Bryce later that he is not really feeling either of the new girl bombshells. He prefers Kenzie. So Corbin is locked in on Kenzie, and Kenzie is emotionally planning a farm with a man she met 40 minutes ago. But wait until you hear what actually happens when Kenzie finally gets Caleb alone. Because what comes out of that soul ties conversation is either the most wholesome thing this season, or the clearest sign that Corbin needs to start planning his next move immediately. Now here is the detail I promised you at the top. The one detail everyone in the villa missed, but I need you to see. The bombshells ask the guys if they're open, and Zach immediately says he's happy with Kayda. Corbin smartly says that they have to play it safe because being in a couple means there's a lot to risk. And Sincere, in the same conversation with the new bombshells, volunteers that his dynamic with Melanie is, quote, very interesting. And then, in a separate conversation with the guys, Corbin brings up that Melanie was the most excited girl when Caleb walked in, and Sincere co-signs it as a major red flag. Here is what nobody is saying out loud. Sincere has already made up his mind. He is not actually hurt. He is cataloging justifications. Every single thing Melanie does is being filed away as evidence for a verdict he has already reached. And Soul just walked in at exactly the right time to give him somewhere to go with it. What comes later in this episode confirms everything I just said. And honestly, I had to check myself because I almost felt bad for Melanie. Almost. Comment below. Who do you think is more at fault in the Sincere and Melanie situation right now? Because I have a very strong opinion, and I want to see if you agree before I give it to you. This is the section where the episode starts peeling back layers, and you realize what you thought was the story is actually just the surface. First up, Sincere and Melanie finally sit down for a real conversation. Sincere tells her directly that he feels very disrespected. The ping-pong kissing with him and Corbin during the game was disrespectful, and her reaction to Caleb walking in was disrespectful. Melanie's explanation for the kissing is that she did not know it was Corbin because she was blindfolded. And honestly, that is a reasonable explanation. The problem is that Sincere is not really upset about the blindfold. He is upset about the vibe, the energy, the enthusiasm, and you cannot explain your way out of energy. In her interview, Melanie actually acknowledges that she does too much. She says she has never been with good guys before, and she thinks she might be self-sabotaging, which is a moment of genuine self-awareness that I have a lot of respect for. But I also want to gently point out that recognizing a pattern and breaking a pattern are two completely different skill sets. Sincere says all he wants is reciprocation, and I want you to file that word away because it is going to come up again very shortly in a way that will make you raise an eyebrow. Now here is the part of the episode that I think got overshadowed by everything else, but is genuinely crucial to understand. Anaya is upset about Casey's joke and his comments about Soul. She goes to Casey and tells him directly. She says she is pissed that every time a bombshell comes in, she is super reassuring to Casey. She does not react crazy. She stays by his side. She is respectful. And then Casey is over there cracking jokes and making faces. Casey hears her. He tells her the last thing he wants is for her to feel bad. He says Jen is definitely not his type, but he is honest and tells her Soul is really pretty. He says if there is something natural with Soul, he would be open to exploring, but only if it develops naturally. He says he does not want to invalidate her feelings. They come back together, things feel a bit settled. Anaya feels better, and they are back to being lovey-dovey. I was genuinely relieved. My top couple is back. For now. But then, Sincere and Anaya end up catching up separately. And Sincere, who is supposed to be Casey's partner in this villa in terms of friendship and loyalty, casually tells Anaya that Casey mentioned Soul looks like his ex. He just drops it, out loud, to Anaya, who just had a whole reconciliation conversation with Casey and was finally feeling better. And I need to be clear here, Sincere did not do this by accident. He was not being a thoughtful friend sharing information. He was venting about Melanie. He and Anaya were bonding over both feeling disrespected and undervalued, and this just came out. Which means Anaya now has to go back to Casey with information she was not supposed to have. Information that Casey probably assumed was a private guy conversation. Sincere is not being a bro here. That is the part everyone missed.
Anaya goes back to KC and confronts him about it. She tells him she knows he said Sol looks like his ex. She is hurt. She just wants him to be straight with her. KC is caught off guard, but he handles it. He tells Anaya he has genuinely been straightforward with her. He says they have built something real over time, and he would not throw that away for someone he just met. He says this conversation is actually waking him up and making him realize he needs to lock in more. They end up back in a good place again, proclaiming to the island that they are closed off. I love this for them. KC and Anaya are good, for now. But Sol named KC in her top 3 when she walked in, so eyes open. Tell me in the comments, do you think Sincere told Anaya about KC on purpose, or was it genuinely just loose lips? Because I have a theory.
And by contrast, while Sincere was talking with Anaya, KC goes to chat with Melanie. And this conversation is brief, but it matters. Melanie is still trying to explain herself to anyone who will listen. She gives KC the same explanation she gave Sincere, that she could not tell it was Corbin because she was blindfolded. KC looks at her and immediately clocks her. He does not buy it for a second. He tells Melanie she was doing too much, point blank. And that moment is important because it tells you how the villa reads this situation. It is not just Sincere being overly sensitive. Even KC, who is generally pretty emotionally even-keeled, saw what happened and is calling it for what it is. Melanie did too much. And she knows it. She even says so in her interview. Casey stood up for his boy while that boy was snitching on him behind his back. Now over with Zach and Kayda. Zach tells Kayda he was upset watching her wrap her legs around Caleb during the blindfolded game. Kayda apologizes. They go to bed with Zach a bit still in his feelings. But the next day, Zach opens up more. He starts talking about his feelings. About how he wifed himself off too quickly, about how he is in a weird headspace because he feels like he is already in a relationship and it is stressing him out. And I want you to watch Kayda's face in this moment, because the second Zach starts airing his insecurities, you can physically see her starting to create distance in her head. There is something genuinely counterintuitive about this show. The men who express vulnerability do not always get rewarded for it. Sometimes the island interprets openness as instability. And Kayda, she is already planning to talk to Caleb today. They end the conversation on an uncertain note. They are, quote, open, which is the Love Island equivalent of saying, we are fine, while absolutely not being fine. And what happens immediately after is almost too perfectly timed. Zach immediately pulls Jen for a chat. They had bonded during the introductions over Taylor Swift, and Zach is a self-described Swiftie and One Direction fan, specifically a Zayn guy, which made him visibly giddy. Jen said in her interview that Zach made her feel really comfortable and was showing genuine interest. Kayda watches this happen and immediately reads it as Zach trying to make her feel some type of way. She is pissed. So she pulls Caleb. The Soul Ties booth is getting more traffic than LAX on a holiday weekend. Let me walk you through the flight schedule. First departure, Gabe and Sol. Gabe tells Sol he is open to exploring. He talks about his dream bungalow date. He hypes her up extensively. And then they kiss. And Anaya and Trinity, who have apparently stationed themselves as the villa's unofficial surveillance unit, clock this immediately. They see it. They note it. They discuss the significance of Soul Ties as a location and what it means when two people go there. Sol, in her interview, says that when they kissed, she was not feeling it, which is possibly the most brutal review a kiss has ever received on the show, after Kenzie's turtle tongue diss aimed at Bryce. She described sensing pheromones and still coming up empty. That is not a kiss. That is a scientific experiment with inconclusive results. Meanwhile, Gabe was genuinely trying to be sneaky about this. He got caught by Anaya, who walked by at the exact wrong moment and disrupted the entire vibe. Gabe was trying to be low-key, and the universe said, absolutely not. Second departure, Kayda and Caleb. Right after her uncertain conversation with Zach, Kayda immediately pulls Caleb for a Soul Ties chat. And this is the part I mentioned earlier about Zach's vulnerability potentially backfiring. Within minutes of Zach expressing his insecurities, Kayda is on her way to Soul Ties with the new Bombshell. The timeline is not subtle. What actually happens in Kayda and Caleb's Soul Ties conversation is sweet. He tells her about his family. His parents are still lovey-dovey after all these years. Kayda is charmed. There's warmth there. But the chemistry read? I did not see sparks. I saw two attractive people having a nice conversation. Sometimes that is genuinely all it is. Third and most consequential departure, Kenzie and Caleb. Kenzie has been waiting for this all episode. She pulls Caleb to soul ties, and the conversation they have is genuinely delightful, and also a complete catastrophe for Corbin. Caleb asks about her relationship with Corbin. Kenzie tells him honestly that she was not expecting to have such a good vibe with Corbin, but that she had been waiting for someone exactly like Caleb. She cannot even focus on what he is saying. She is completely hypnotized by this man's existence. They discover they have different opinions on how many kids they want. Caleb says no more than 4. Kenzie says minimum 5. They are apparently negotiating the terms of a farm they have not built yet for children they have not had with a person they met today. Peak Love Island energy. They end up sharing their first kiss. And here is the thing that is genuinely wild about this. From the looks of it, it seems that not a single person in that villa would be bothered by this kiss except for Corbin, at least on the surface. Compare that to the absolute chaos that erupted over Melanie and Corbin during the blindfolded game, and you have a textbook example of how double standards operate in that villa. Make it make sense. Let me know in the comments whether you think that double standard is intentional or just how the social dynamics naturally play out. Corbin, by the way, had earlier told the boys he is not feeling either of the new girl bombshells and that he prefers Kenzie. But when he goes to talk to Kenzie and tells her this, trying to offer comfort, she looks uncomfortable receiving it, almost like she would rather he was interested in the new girls so she could explore freely with a clear conscience. That is a tell. Meanwhile, Sincere pulls Sol for their first real one-on-one conversation. This is the daytime chat in the bungalow. Sol is the youngest of 2. Sincere is the oldest of 5 and says it made him more selfless. Sol shares that she kept her short hair because of alopecia from stress after her dad passed away. Sincere shares that he kept his long hair because of his grandmother. And then they kiss. Sincere ranks it a 20 out of 10. He says it was the best kiss he has had in a long time. He says Sol makes him feel seen. She listens. She gives him butterflies. She is a breath of fresh air. Melanie, my dear, you are in trouble. And I will be honest with you, I cannot be fully mad at Sincere here. But what I do want to note is that a man who is genuinely conflicted does not describe a first kiss as a 20 out of 10 with this kind of specificity. A conflicted man is cautious. Sincere was not cautious. Sincere was enthusiastic. At night, Gabe takes Jen for a separate chat. This is his second bombshell interaction of the day, by the way. He asks about her type, and she says, funny finance bro types. Gabe asks if she has ever been with a Latin man, and proceeds to run what I can only describe as the full Latin Playboy playbook. It is a little cringy, but you can see Jen slowly falling into it anyway. And then, Jen kisses Gabe. Boys, lock in. Study Gabe's playbook. This man kissed 2 different bombshells in one day while coupled up and did it with full confidence. The audacity is almost admirable. Almost. But Gabe is giving major fling energy with the bombshells. Physical, charming, surface level. His real depth comes out with Beatrice, and eventually, he is going to feel the difference himself. The question is whether Beatrice can outlast the process. She locked herself in early and right now has nobody else to explore with. That is a structural problem, and it is going to create some anxious moments before Gabe figures himself out. All right, this is the section where the producers earned their entire salary. Sol pulls Sincere for another chat. This is their second conversation at nighttime, and she does it right in front of Melanie, in the same communal space where everyone can see it happening. Melanie watches Sol pull her partner and immediately starts to fall apart. She is on the verge of tears. Beatrice tries to console her. It is what it is, she says. And while Beatrice is saying the right things, you can feel the complicated history between her and Melanie sitting just underneath the surface of that conversation. Melanie storms off to find Sincere, and the group discusses Melanie and Sincere's relationship. And you can clock that not everyone watching Melanie spiral is doing so with pure sympathy. Beatrice has had friction with Melanie this season, and I am starting to think her read on her is more accurate than I initially gave credit for. Sol and Sincere go to the speakeasy. Sincere is making it clear to Sol that his situation with Melanie is open. And this is where the producers switch genres from reality television to psychological thriller. The editing cuts between Sincere and Sol getting closer in the speakeasy, and Melanie walking towards them, growing more anxious by the second. The music builds. The group watches. Melanie starts walking. Sincere goes in for the kiss. And just when I thought Sol was going to get on top of Sincere, she stands up and Melanie walks in. Sol hears someone approaching, and cuts off the kiss at exactly the right moment. Perfect timing. And there is Melanie, standing in the doorway, having just walked in on whatever she walked in on, even if she did not see the full thing. And then there is Zach, who, for the second time today, with zero confirmation and zero evidence, immediately tells the group that Sincere kissed Soul and Melanie walked in on them. No one told him, he just knew. His intuition this episode has been genuinely unsettling. Either this man is psychic or Sincere is just that transparent to anyone paying attention. I need you to vote in the comments. Psychic Zach or just obvious Sincere? Because I cannot decide.
Melanie leads. She tells Sincere that watching Soul pull him for a chat wrecked her. That seeing him get pulled, or doing the pulling today, made her realize just how fudged up those situations must have felt for him when the roles were reversed. She says she is genuinely sorry. She tells him that if he gives her the chance, she will make it up to him in so many ways. Then Melanie asks the question. She asks him directly, "Did you and Soul kiss in the speakeasy?" Sincere says yes, just like that. Melanie's face changes. He says it was not anything crazy, just a kiss. He tries to console her by saying, "But no one can compare to you. Through the good, we have the bad." Her face is getting darker and darker. It's like watching a movie. Sincere continues that he let it be known since day one that he does like her a lot, but she's hearing none of it. He says he didn't expect to like her this much. He wants their connection to work inside and outside of the villa. Then, Melanie being Melanie, asks for details. She asks who initiated it. Sincere says Soul asked for the kiss. He did not ask her, but you can see it in his face that it was in this moment that he knew he effed up. Melanie asks if he sees himself dating Soul outside the villa. Sincere says he's talked to her one time, twice. Melanie pushes back and says, "But those conversations were intense enough for a kiss." My boy is struggling and pulls out some BS that this is either going to be the greatest story ever between us. He struggles to come up with the second part, so Melanie interjects and says, "Or you'll end up with Soul." Burn. Sincere says no, but Melanie is not convinced and walks away, telling him to do what he thinks is best for him. The producer's song choice, by the way, singing about bumper cars, "The more I try to get to you, the more we crash apart," was perfecto. They walk away from each other. And honestly, I'm embarrassed for both of them. Sincere should have just confidently manned up and said he did what he did because of how she made him feel the past few days, instead of being cowardly trying to salvage his connection with Melanie.
The vote is open. America decides who Saul, Jen, and Caleb couple up with. I am campaigning, publicly, with full awareness of what that makes me. I want Saul with Sincere. Not because I dislike Melanie, but because these two people are actively making each other worse right now, and they both deserve a reset. If Saul and Sincere couple up, we find out immediately whether Sincere was ever actually ready for something real. And Melanie gets freed from a cycle that is not doing her any favors. Maximum information, maximum growth, maximum television. I want Jen with Corbin, because Corbin has been quietly getting more interesting this episode, and he needs a real redirect now that Kenzie has emotionally moved on. He should have explored Saul today. He missed that window, but Jen could be a genuine new chapter for him. And I want Caleb with Kenzie. The entire villa wants it. The universe is demanding it. Corbin, I say this with genuine affection. You are done. Vote your conscience. Unless your conscience agrees with mine, in which case, vote strategically. Zach and Kayda. I think Zach got something genuinely important off his chest by being honest about feeling like he moved too fast. And even though that honesty made Kayda want to pull back, it probably needed to happen. His connection with Jen over Taylor Swift and One Direction was cute, but I did not see the same pull he has with Kayda. I think they both explore, realize the grass is not greener, and find their way back to each other with a clearer understanding of what they actually have. The path there is going to be bumpy though. Corbin and Kenzie. Corbin, you are done, brother. She has been manifesting Caleb's entire energy for weeks before he even walked in. The sooner Corbin accepts this and redirects toward a bombshell, the better off he is. He had a chance to explore with Saul today and did not take it. He still has time to course correct, but not much of it. Gabe and Beatrice. Gabe is going to Gabe. He kissed Saul. He kissed Jen. He ran the full playbook in a single episode. The question is whether Beatrice can outlast it. I think she can, because here is what I keep coming back to. Gabe's conversations with the bombshells are physical and surface level. His depth comes out with Beatrice.
Eventually, he is going to feel that difference himself, and it is going to bring him home. But Beatrice has nobody else to explore, and that vulnerability is going to create some painful moments before he figures it out. Casey and Anaya. Casey genuinely woke up this episode. He heard Anaya twice in one episode and chose her both times. She is the most consistent and respectful partner in that villa, and she deserves someone who matches that energy. I think Casey is capable of being that person. Cautiously optimistic. But Saul named Casey in her top 3 when she arrived, and she is still there. Eyes open. Bryce and Trinity. Stable. Bryce is growing on me, very slowly, like a plant in indirect light. But I still want something more exciting for Trinity, and I am worried she is getting more locked in before she has fully explored her options. That ship may already be sailing without her. Melanie and Sincere. They need to end. Not because either of them is irredeemable, but because this cycle has become the relationship. Melanie has real self-awareness that she showed in her interview this episode, and I genuinely hope she takes it seriously when she watches this back. The question she needs to ask herself is not whether Sincere is a red flag. It is whether her own patterns have contributed to every situation she keeps finding herself in. That is not blame. That is growth. If the vote goes the way I am campaigning for and Saul couples up with Sincere, we get answers about everything very quickly. If it does not, we are spending more episodes watching these two orbit each other while the villa slowly loses its mind around them. Either way, I am watching every second of it. This season is genuinely good television. First vote of the season. Let me know in the comments what you are voting for and why, because that comment section is about to be unhinged and I am here for all of it. Spilling the tea, one drop at a time. See you after episode 8.